All parties in the matter of Englehart versus Sikowski. Step forward, please.
21-year-old Kimberly Englehart is suing her former friend, 21-year-old Denise Sikowski, for the cost of 2 tickets to a reggae festival.
Miss Englehart,
yes.
According to the complaint that I read, a group of people were going to a concert, and the defendant was a friend of yours.
Correct.
You asked her if she wanted to join group at the concert. You say that Miss Sikowski said that she definitely wanted to go, along with her boyfriend. You put the pair of tickets on your credit card. Turns out that only Miss Sikowski went. You want her to pay for both of the tickets. The remainder on her ticket. She didn't give you the full amount.
Yes.
Miss Sikowski says she only said she was ready to go to the concert, and her boyfriend hadn't committed to go to the concert, and if you didn't think long and hard enough about contacting him, then that's your problem, not hers. He didn't go. So, Miss Sikowski, is this the boyfriend?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me your name.
I'm Chris Holton.
How old are you, Chris?
I'm 20.
And you?
21.
How long have you been a couple?
For almost 2 years.
Do you live together?
Yes, ma'am.
You live together in an apartment that you share?
We lived together in an apartment for a year, and then we live in a house now.
That you
together.
lease?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When was the concert?
The first weekend in August.
What kind of concert was it?
It was a reggae festival.
A reggae festival?
Yes, it was 3 day long.
Where do you stay?
You camp along the river, and wherever there's a place, you set up your tent.
Sounds delicious. Okay. Now, Miss Sikowski, when your friend Miss Englehart discussed it with you, tell me what you said to her.
Well, first of all, it was all 4 of us at my apartment, and
4 of you, including this gentleman?
Yes, ma'am.
That's your boyfriend?
Yes.
And she asked us, she had already paid for all 4 of the tickets. And I said that that sounded lovely, and I wanted to go definitely. And Chris said that it sounded good, but he could not commit to it because he didn't know his financial state right then and if he had other plans going on.
Is that what he said?
I am not exactly sure what he said, but I remember that she agreed to wanting to go.
She said she wanted to go. Did she say she or they?
She said she wanted to go, but later on, before the concert started, she told me that they were both going to go.
When you say before the concert started, when did she tell you that they were both going to go?
Maybe it was in July.
In between this first conversation, which was in what conversation at your house?
I believe it was in May.
Between May and July, had you tried to sell either one or both of these tickets?
No, I didn't, because I assumed that she would like to purchase the ticket, if not both of them.
Okay. But it wasn't until July that she told you they were both going to go?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I want to know. Mr. Holton.
Yes.
Tell me about your plans to go to this concert, sir.
Well, I never really had any official...
Look at me.
Never really had any official plans. She brought it up, like she said, in May. It sounded kind of interesting to me, but like this was months ahead of time. I never actually told her I would be going to the concert. I didn't even know if she actually had the tickets. We never said, hey, buy us the tickets and we'll pay you back.
Mr. Holton, 2 couples are going on a camping trip. Camping trip where they're going to share a tent and be away with each other for 3 days. And you want me to believe that you just weren't sure that you wanted to go with your live-in, with your significant other to this concert? Just because.
Well, I mean, honestly...
Judd, don't put your hand up. I'd like him to finish.
I don't know, honestly, I never really wanted to go to a reggae festival. I'm not really into reggae music.
Did you tell that to your live-in?
Yeah, I don't think I really explained it to her that I wasn't going to go, but
well,
I
want you to explain to me what you explained to her, sir. If you didn't explain to her that you weren't going to go,
well,
how did you think somebody was going to read your mind that you weren't going to go?
Well, she wasn't trying to sell me a ticket. The plaintiff here is trying to sell a ticket to somebody that didn't want a ticket.
Now I'll hear you.
From the very beginning, Chris never said that he was going to take this ticket. He said it sounded like a good idea, but he said that he would never commit to the ticket. Kim and I had talked about this several times, about him wanting the ticket, and I told her several times that Chris was not going to take the ticket, and I told Kim, if she wants to talk to him about it, then go for it. Call him, because she has the phone number. I ended up going to this place by myself.
I disagree with
30,000 people there.
Just a second. You didn't go there by yourself. According to the complaint that I read and your answer, you picked up his ticket. And you went with his ticket and yours. So you took 2 tickets.
Because it's $165. I would not want to leave under somebody's doorstep to be taken.
Why?
Because that was my friend.
What did you do with it?
My intentions were to give it back to her
What?
because...
Listen to me. You took both tickets Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Both tickets.
To give her one back.
I don't care what your intention was. You took both tickets.
It's $165 underneath somebody's doorstep.
That's not the problem. The problem is you took both tickets.
It would be my fault if it was lost in the first place.
Well, what did you do with it?
I took it with me, and I never found Kim. I tried calling her several times. I was there by myself. I ended up having to sleep on the side of a road because I could not find her to go camping with her, and I couldn't find her the second day. They wanted $80 for parking. I spent over $160 getting up to this festival and then trying to find my friend. She never even called me to notify me where she was at or where her camping grounds were because we were supposed to camp together, and she never called me or anything.
Who's the we?
Myself, Kim, and her boyfriend.
Just the three of you?
Yes.
Did you know that it was just going to be the three of you camping together?
The day before that we left, I found out Chris wasn't going to go.
Just a second. Was that the first time you found out he wasn't going to go?
It might have been a day before, but it was within 24 hours of the concert.
Tell me who told you he wasn't going.
Denise told me that he wasn't going.
And what did you say to her?
I said, well, what are we going to do with that ticket? Because, you know, it was intended for him. I hadn't tried to give it to anybody else because I was under the assumption that
he was going until he had to do paperwork on the new
it.
house. Don't talk over me.
Sorry.
So what did she say?
She told me that she was going to try to go up the next day because she had a lot of stuff going on. And I said, okay, that's fine. We would try to meet up at the concert. But what I didn't know was that people at this concert and that I wouldn't be able to find her.
Okay, how much did you lay out for those two tickets?
It was a total of $330 for both tickets.
And how much money did she give you?
She gave me $65.
Is that correct?
Yeah, no, Your Honor, that's not true. I paid her the full amount for that ticket.
No, that is not
Show
true.
me.
I paid her with cash.
She paid me $65
Yeah, I
and
believe-
said, I'll
payments.
give you the rest later because she was paying me installments.
I paid her 2 installments.
One installment.
I believe you, Miss Engelhardt. I believe you. I believe she gave you $65. You owe her $265. That's all. Judgment for the plaintiff. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Because it's obvious you can't really trust friends anymore.
It's quite stupid, actually, but she was the one that decided to end our friendship.
Christine Lawson is suing her ex-boyfriend, Joseph Lemos, for the cost of a big screen TV they purchased as a couple. Joseph says when they broke up, Christine kept the TV.
Miss Lawson, this gentleman used to be your boyfriend. You lived together for a period of time. Something happened while you were living together with your TV. You claimed that he wanted to buy a big screen TV. You put it on a credit card. You allowed him to use the credit card. He used it not only for the TV, but for some other things. He paid for the other things that he used, ultimately. He paid off the credit card up to the amount of the TV after you broke up, and then he stopped paying for the TV. You want him to pay for the television. Sounds very reasonable, right?
Yes.
Except that you have the TV.
Correct.
So, I'm confused. Mr. Lema says that he did, in fact, use the credit card to purchase some other things. Even after you broke up, he continued to make payments on the credit card until he had paid off all of the items he had purchased, but for the television.
Correct.
And the reason he didn't pay for the television is because you have the television. When did you break up?
It's about April or May of 2006.
And when was the television purchased?
August of 2004.
So you've been watching the television
Correct.
in your house.
Yes.
Why don't you pay for it?
I never wanted it. I don't like it. I would love to give it back to him, but I don't have, I'm using it as collateral, I guess, to get the rest of the money that he owes me.
The only money that's owed is owed for the television.
Not entirely.
Most of it is for the television.
I guess you could say that.
So what you want me to believe, Miss Lawson, is that he said to you, you can keep this $3,000 television and watch it, and I'm going to make the payments on it.
No, that's not how the conversation actually...
Well, tell me how a conversation actually went.
Okay. When we broke up, there was still about $4,000 on the credit card, which, as you said, there was multiple things on there. He was paying me up until September of 2006.
Correct,
He was
and then he
making payments.
stopped. Right.
And he wanted to take his TV, which would have been fine to me. However, I couldn't guarantee that I would get the rest of the money that he owed me if I handed over the TV. I had no way of contacting him. I had no cell phone number. The only way I had was email. Most of the emails that I had sent him were ignored.
He paid you for the 6 months.
Well, he was paying on multiple things. That wasn't the only thing on there.
He paid the credit card honorably.
Correct.
Until the only thing left was a television that you were watching.
Well, the television was...
And he wanted it back when you broke up.
Correct.
Well, then you're watching it. You pay for it. I mean, it's not rocket science.
Well, the amount owed on the credit card exceeded what the amount of the television was.
When?
When we broke up, when he stopped paying.
Come on, Miss Lawson. I just made it perfectly clear to you that there's an agreed set of facts, and the agreed set of facts are he paid until September, when the only thing that remained on the credit card was the television set, which he had initially asked for when you broke up, which you declined to give him, which you've been watching and you've been using. You pay for it. That's all. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Yep. Yes.
Better. According to your complaint, you and your ex-husband got together and decided to purchase a used car for your daughter.
Yes, Ashley.
And each of you was going to contribute $400 to the car.
Yes.
According to you, you gave your husband $400 to buy this car. The car somehow was registered in the name of Miss Palmucci.
Yes.
Your daughter drove the car for a period of time, and then, for whatever reason, Miss Palmucci took the car back.
Yes.
You want your $400 back.
Correct.
Miss Palmucci said it was always her car. Step up, sir. What's your last name?
Mar?
How long have you and your former wife been divorced?
About 4 or 5 years now.
And how long have you and Miss Palmucci been together?
About 7 years.
So I assume you and your wife were separated for a long time before you divorced. Yes. How old was your daughter when you left the house?
Like 13, 12, 13, like that.
How old?
10.
10?
They're not always good with dates. Whose idea was it to get this used car for your daughter?
It was my idea.
Where did you find the car?
My niece had it. She was selling the car.
Did your wife, former wife, give you $400 towards the car? Look at me.
It was my understanding that check that she gave me was for the work I did for her at her house a week prior to that. And I gave $200.
How much was the car?
The car altogether was $700.
Did you have a conversation with your former wife with regard to her contributing to the car?
The only conversation that we had was with my daughter and myself and Mary about the car. There was no verbal conversation about the car between me and my ex-wife.
Did you have a conversation with your father about the car?
Yes.
Step up. Tell me your first name.
Ashley.
Ashley, tell me about when you had this conversation with your father about the car.
Well, I was at work and he called and asked me if I wanted to discuss with my mother about getting the car from my cousin.
Well, what specifically did he say?
He said, do you think your mother would go half in buying a car for you? I said, yeah, she would. So I went out and she said, yeah, that's a good idea.
Did your father tell you how much the car was?
Yes.
How much did he say it was?
$700.
And did you tell your mother how much it was?
Yes.
Who did you give the money to?
My ex-husband.
When?
I gave it to him on July 28th.
Did you give it to him in check or cash?
Check.
How much did you give him?
$400.
Why did you give him $400?
Because I was told that the car was $800, and later on, after I had paid it, my daughter had said it was only $700.
Did you originally tell your mother it was $800?
I think I might have.
What date did you get the car?
July 31st.
July 30th.
And when was the car taken back from you?
It's August 21st.
Mr. Marr, you did have a discussion with your daughter about her mother going half for the car. Unless you're calling your daughter a liar. Are you calling your daughter a liar?
Me and Ashley discussed it. We didn't discuss anything with my ex-wife.
Are you telling me that you didn't say to your daughter you think your mom would go half with me on a used car for you?
No, it didn't take place, that conversation.
Really?
Yep.
Tell me the work that you did for your ex-wife that you thought she was paying you for.
I put a liner in the pool and a skimmer also.
Did you arrive at a price with her?
No, it wasn't. We didn't compromise the price.
Well, how much did you spend for the liner?
I didn't spend for anything. She bought the liner and I put it in. I installed it and the skimmer.
How long did it take you?
Half a day, about 4 or 5 hours.
So what you're telling me, Mr. Marr, is you want me to believe, sir, that you thought that this $400 was your labor in putting in the half a day?
Yeah, that I paid my brother-in-law with the other $200. Exactly.
Really?
Yeah.
Even though you had not come up with an amount with your wife for what the job was going to be?
No, since she doesn't make that much money, I was just happy with whatever she gave me, that's all.
Mr. Marr, you're full of baloney, sir. Absolutely, positively, 100% full of baloney. If something doesn't make sense in this world, Mr. Marr, it's not true. If something makes sense, it's usually true. What makes sense is you having a discussion with your daughter and saying you think your mom would go half with me on a car for you, and giving her an inflated amount of $800 because that would have covered the tags and the registration, whatever it was to get it on the road. And she going to her mother and saying, would you do that? And her mother said, sure. And her mother hands you a check for $400. You don't even ask what it's for. You ask, Don't know. It's for the swimming pool, it's for the liner, it's for the work, it's for the... I don't know what this is for. Thank you very much for the check. Then you register the car in your girlfriend's name. What happens to her $400 when you take back the car?
I didn't register the car.
She registered the car.
Because I wrote out the check for the $700, which I have, and I paid for everything else, including the insurance.
Then you got it, Miss Palmucci. He scammed you out of $400.
Who scammed me out of $400?
He did.
Really?
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
Because he got paid $400. So if you wrote out the entire check of $700 plus putting tags and registration on the car, then your boyfriend scammed you out of $400 because he got half of it from his ex-wife, which was supposed to pay
either
for
way,
the car.
the money comes out of a joint checking account, which him and I have. So he didn't scam me out of anything, because that's also where the check is deposited.
Yeah.
Into the account that we both have.
Let me see everything, please. I want to see all the paperwork, please. Going to resolve this right away.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
These two people decided to buy her a car. He's afraid to tell you that.
The conversation between him...
Try not to speak over me. You will not be successful.
And later today...
Things need to be paid. She offers to pay for those things. I wasn't going to say no.
Why not?
Somebody offers me money. Who am I to say no?
A creep.
Judy. Pamela Marr claims her ex-husband's girlfriend, Mary Palmucci, illegally titled a Chevy Cavalier in her name. Pamela says the car was supposed to be a gift to her daughter, Ashley.
Why is the certificate of title all mangled?
She attempted to take it from my house and tore it in doing that.
Where's the car now?
In my driveway.
Who drives it?
Nobody right now.
Why not?
It's not registered and insured.
Does it still drive?
Yeah, it still drives.
There's nothing wrong with it.
Oh, good. You want to give him $350 for this car?
Sure.
Yes. Good, because that's all they paid for. They said they paid $700.
In addition to the insurance, the registration, the title, the amount that I had to have it towed in order to get the vehicle back.
Shouldn't have done that. Because
well,
you didn't get
the only
whole
other
story.
choice that I was given by the police department was that I should file a complaint.
You didn't get the whole
theft.
story, madam. The whole story was these two people have a child together. They decided to buy her a car. He's afraid to tell you that.
The conversation between him...
Try not to speak over me. You will not be successful. You got yourself in the middle of it, and you shouldn't have. But she's going to give you $350. You get the other $400 from him, because that's what she paid him for the car, and you're going to sign over the title to her right now.
I can't sign the title until after the other case goes to court.
What other case?
There's another case that's going to court on the 14th of November.
For what?
Her claim against him for assault.
Her claim against him for assault?
Here's the paperwork. You want to see that
Can I
too?
see it, please? This has nothing to do with the title to the car.
It does. It's in there. It says that she went there and that she attempted to get the title to the car.
I gotcha. I gotcha. We'll give you a copy of this tape. You take it, you show it, and you indicate to the judge who hears that case, if a judge is going to hear that case, that you were directed to, and you have agreed and acknowledged to follow my direction. You're going to sign this over to her, and she's going to give you $350. Bird, have her sign it right now. You created a whole lot of trouble, Mr. Marr, by not being honest with the women in your life. Sign it.
Tell her sign here.
You have now purchased the car yourself. Do you understand?
Yes.
She gets $350. Now she's whole because she's going to take his $400 because they have a joint bank account. You got it?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He's ruined a good relationship he had with his 3 daughters. He has no relationship with them now. It's just really, really sad that he would do this to his own daughters.
She'd rather go the avenue of making up lies and causing a problem between people. That's the results that she gets.
It's his fault. He ruined everything with me and my sisters, and there's going to be nothing more.
They want to continue to cause...
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Sarah Borden versus Taylor Marquez. Step forward, please.
19-year-old barista Devin Serra and her boyfriend, Michael Borden, are suing their former roommates, 20-year-old cashier Angela Marquez and her boyfriend, Gary Taylor, for breaking a lease. Angela says she moved out because she was scared to live with Devin.
The two of you decided to lease an apartment with the two of you.
Yes, ma'am.
Leased the apartment when?
December 11th in 2004.
Moved in when?
That same day.
That was fast. How big an apartment?
It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath.
You're not married?
No.
You're not married?
No,
You're going to have a baby?
Yes.
Well, everything's... You're all friends, right? When did you move out?
January 28th, 2005.
Okay, and you want 3 months' rent from them?
Yes.
Because you're stuck with the lease.
Yeah.
And you also say that when they moved out, they took some property that didn't belong to them.
Yes, they did.
You'll tell me about that in a minute. And you say you had to move out because she threatened you, and they both told you to go. And you just went. And you couldn't be stressed out because you're pregnant.
Yes, Your Honor.
How old are you?
20.
How old are you?
I'm 20, Your Honor.
Do you have a job?
Yes, ma'am.
What do you work at?
I'm a firefighter.
And you?
Cashier.
2 20-year-olds having a baby? That would make me nervous.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She grabs the salt and the pepper, she throws it against the wall. She comes after me, in my face, picking up her hands like she was going to come after me and hit me.
Oy, 20 years old and you're having a child.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Devin Sarah and her boyfriend Michael Borden claim former roommates Angela Marquez and her boyfriend Gary Taylor owe for breaking a lease.
Okay. Are you still living in the apartment?
Yes, we are.
Do you have new roommates?
Not yet.
How much is the rent?
$8.65 a month.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a barista.
A what?
A barista.
What's a barista?
I work at Starbucks. Cashier, make drinks.
Yeah, they make burritos and stuff.
No, barista. No, really, seriously.
A
what's
barista, yeah.
Is that what it's called, a barista?
Yes.
So you work at Starbucks full-time?
Part-time.
What else do you do?
I'm a student.
How much do you make from working as a barista?
I make $7.20 an hour.
How much do you take home every week?
Every 2 weeks, I make about $200.
And that's what you support yourself on?
Myself, yeah.
And what about you?
Seasonal firefighter.
Seasonal firefighter.
Seasonal firefighter.
What does that mean?
Work with the Forest Service, so I wildland firefighting, just with the summer.
What do you do the rest of the time?
Right now, I'm working as an athletic trainer.
You train people individually or what?
It's with the high school.
How much do you make?
It's $12.66 an hour, and I bring home about $2,000, a little over $2,000 a month.
Okay, so you can afford the rent.
Yes.
Great. You're going to stay in this apartment?
Yes.
Why don't you sign off on the lease?
We did, Your Honor. We tried.
No, you either did or you tried.
We did.
You did sign off
yes.
on the lease.
My fiance had
Let me
gone to the manager's office and asked for a release form. And we showed it to them, and they said they weren't going to sign us off if we didn't pay the February rent.
You left there because of your own safety, is that right?
Yes.
You had security deposit.
Yes, Your Honor.
How much security deposit did you put down?
$250.
That's for both of you, was the security deposit?
It was actually $450, but in half, it was about $225 each on deposit from each couple.
From each couple?
From each couple.
Okay. You moved out January 28th. Why shouldn't you be responsible for February's rent? They certainly couldn't find somebody else in 2 days to rent the apartment.
Because January, I would say the 21st, on January is a Sunday. I had like the last straw with them. I was like in a mood that I couldn't talk to them. I didn't want to just go out there and say stuff. And so finally I told Mike if we could talk. And he said, sure, meet us for dinner here at the house and we'll talk. So we talked about it. We sat there. I went first and I told her how I felt and everybody. Then she went and she said how she felt and whatnot. Well, all of a sudden, she went crazy. She went out of this world. She pulled out of her chair. She started screaming and saying, I'm not happy that you're pregnant. It's not fair that you're pregnant. I had an abortion. I did this and this and this and that. And she thought, it's my fault that I brought you together and you're pregnant. You're going to suffer and you're this and that. And then she just pulls out of her chair. She grabs the salt and the pepper. She throws it against the wall. She goes back to her room screaming and just going crazy. She comes back out of her room throwing stuff, just hitting walls and whatnot. She comes after me. Like she was this close from me, in my face, picking up her hands like she was going to come after me and hit me. Then
What was she saying to you?
Saying that she couldn't take it anymore. She didn't like living with me and Gary, that she hated the fact that I was pregnant, and she had to see me happy. She didn't want to see me happy. And I was like, okay, why don't you want to see me happy?
Oy, 20 years old and you're having a child.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Now, why were you upset?
We were all upset.
I assume you were all upset.
Yeah.
Good. I don't want to be upset.
Yeah.
I don't want you to be upset. Where are you living now?
We're living somewhere else now, in another apartment.
They signed off on the lease on January 25th.
That was the date I got the papers, and
Yeah.
that was the day I wanted all of us to get the signatures so we can get off the lease.
Did you or did you not sign off on the lease?
We
did.
signed it, and they had to sign it. The manager told us, we cannot get you off the lease unless they sign you off because they're still staying there.
Fine. Court will draft an order 5 days from today. Do you all live in the same town?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. You're all going to meet in the landlord's office, 9 a.m. Sign the release form. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
I am going to award you their share of February's rent because they had an obligation to pay at least 1 month's rent for you to spend that month looking for a new roommate if that's what you wanted to do. I think that that's fair, don't you?
Yes, Your Honor.
When you sign off on the lease, you will also get a check for $250 for your security deposit. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
If you don't go there 5 days from today, I'm giving the plaintiffs the right to come back and ask for a judgment for the remainder of the lease, and they will take it out of your pay. Do you understand?
Yes,
Yes,
Your
Your
Honor.
Honor.
Do you understand the order?
Yes.
Good. Now, let's get to what property you say they took when they moved out.
When they were moved out, they took a lot of belongings and stuff.
Oh,
when they moved
a
out.
lot of belongings doesn't help me, madam.
They took food, they took
I don't
cleaning
care.
supplies.
Are you kidding me or what? Other than food and cleaning supplies.
That's all they took.
I hope you've replaced them. You don't want the food back, do you?
No.
Good. Okay, you understand the order?
Yes, Your Honor.
That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I really don't care. Like, to tell you the truth, it's over and done with, and I never have to see them again.
We wanted him out of there in February. We wanted the rent paid. We wanted it over.
We should have gotten more money out of him, I think. We all agreed from the beginning. Both of us, as couples, didn't work out. We would split and go our separate ways.
They can't stand us, we can't stand them.
We were friends.
Okay, that's fine. Judge Judy had her say in it. That's fine.
Definitely not going to a lease with people you were, like, weary about.
Glad it's over, and I'm just glad I'm away from her, and she's psycho.
Jennifer Spurgeon is suing her son, 25-year-old Ozzie, when he was arrested for writing fraudulent checks.
Miss Spurgeon, you are willing to acknowledge here in court that this is your child.
Yes, my son.
According to your complaint, he owes you for bailing him out of jail.
Yes, he does.
He says he never asked you. You bailed him out on your own. What were you in jail for, sir?
I forged some checks in 02.
For forgery.
Yes, ma'am.
And the forgery was in 2002?
Yes, ma'am.
When were you incarcerated?
New Year's Eve 05.
Is that because that's when you were arrested or because you violated your parole or probation?
That's when I got arrested.
For the forgery in 2002?
Yes, ma'am.
It took him 3 years to figure it out?
It took them 3 years to catch me, ma'am. I didn't, because I didn't do anything else wrong.
Is that the only time you've been arrested?
No, ma'am.
Between 2002 and 2005, how many times were you arrested?
0.
Before 2002?
Couple, 2 or 3.
For what?
Me and a couple of my friends stole a racing four-wheeler. Like,
stole a what?
A four-wheeler, a racing four-wheeler when I was 17.
How old are you now?
25.
Oh, that's a long time ago. What else?
Possession of marijuana.
When was that?
I was 19.
Anything else?
Possession again.
Don't learn your lesson.
No, ma'am.
Now, is that forgery case resolved at this point?
Yes, ma'am.
Was it resolved after a trial or a plea?
After a plea.
What did you plead guilty to and when?
I pled guilty to forgery. I'm not sure. It was like, the last case was just resolved 2 months ago.
Which last case?
Well, there was 3 counties the checks were in. It was 3 different counties.
Where'd you get the checks from?
A friend of mine.
Whose checks were they?
His checks.
You stole the checks from him or he gave them to you?
He gave them to me.
To do what with?
To get money.
What were you using the money for?
All kinds of different things.
So it took whatever county was 3 years to figure out what was going on. So you were arrested December 31st, 2005.
Yes, ma'am.
What was your bail?
In the beginning, it was $89,000.
Was your friend arrested too?
I don't have any idea.
Why was your bail so high?
Because of the amount of checks that there was.
How much?
I don't remember.
Give me a ballpark figure.
$1,500.
How long did you spend in jail?
46 days.
Was that the first time you had been incarcerated?
For 46 days, yes, ma'am.
More than a day or two?
No. It was the second time.
How long was the previous time you were incarcerated for a substantial period?
A couple days, no.
A couple of days?
Yes, ma'am.
So this was 46 days?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you like it?
No, wasn't fun at all.
How many times did you speak to your mother? Did you call her?
Oh, yeah.
You call her every week?
Every couple days.
What'd you talk about?
Everything. How I was doing, how I was feeling. Was I learning anything? Was I going to do it again? My daughter.
You have a child?
Yes, ma'am.
What do you do for a living now, Mr. Stephan?
I run a concrete business.
A what?
Custom concrete business.
Custom concrete?
Yeah.
You work all the time?
Most of the time.
You make a living?
Yes, ma'am.
You filed tax returns last year?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. How much did you earn?
I don't remember.
Ballpark.
$35,000.
Nice. And you only have one child?
Yes, ma'am.
Who do you live with?
I live with my father.
Still working the same business that you did last year when you were
No, ma'am.
making $35,000?
No, ma'am.
So you left a good business and you went into the custom concrete business?
Yes, ma'am.
So you must make more money?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Love it. Now, it's one of the things you spoke to about your mother, how unhappy you were in prison?
In jail? Yeah, of course.
Did you discuss with her bailing you out?
I mean, it came up time to time.
How did it come up?
I would ask her if she would bail me out, and she would tell me no.
And? And?
And?
But look where you are. You're here. 46 days later, you're here. So how did it come about, sir, that you got bailed out?
I finally made it to the last county that I was going to, and I made a phone call to my mom, and she had said...
You made a phone call to your mom at the last
said,
county. Shh. We do everything my way here, because it's my playpen. So you finally got to the last county where you had a shipment, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And the bail in the other counties had been sort of resolved, so you were waiting to get to the last place because they weren't letting go of you until you got to the last place, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So now you got to the last place and you called your mom and you said...
Hi, Mom, what's up?
And she said...
I mean, basically, that's what I called her and said, hey, how you doing? And she told me to call her back in an hour. She was working on something.
And that's all you said to her. Hi, Mom, what's doing?
How's it going? Yeah.
How's it going?
And she...
All right, good. Now he's at the last county. What day is it, Mrs. Spurgeon?
Around the 7th or 8th of February, 06.
And he calls you from the last county that wants him,
Yes.
right? And what does he say to you, and what do you say to him?
He was pretty upset.
What did he say?
Mom, I can't take it anymore. You've got to get me out of here. I've called Grandma. Grandma can't help. She has no money. She's on disability, my father's pension. And
is this your mother?
This is my mom.
Mm-hmm.
I told him that I couldn't get him out. I didn't have any kind of money. All I had was my credit cards.
And he said?
I got a friend that's a bondsman. If you'll call him, he'll cut us a deal.
He said?
Ozzie gave me the name of the bondsman to call.
And did you call?
I did call him, yes.
And did you get a deal?
$1,500 is not a deal when, you know, I didn't get to spend any of it. I had to give it away.
Is that what it cost you to get him out?
Yes, all totally.
What's your mother's last name?
McMullen.
Would you step up, Miss McMullen? How many grandchildren do you have?
17.
Is he one that you like?
He always calls up and says, this is your favorite grandson. That's okay.
Yeah, he's got a gift of gab. Did he call you from jail and ask you to bail him out?
Well, he said he needed help getting out, but...
Did he call you?
Yes, he did, several times.
Several times. And he said, I need help getting out?
Mm-hmm. He wanted to get out.
What did you say to him?
I can't help you. I'm on a fixed income, so I can't help you.
And what did he say to you?
I know. I guess he was fishing.
How many times did he call you? Trying to see if he could get some money?
3 or 4 times, yeah.
Remember calling your grandmother?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ask her for money?
Oh, yeah.
Remember calling your mother?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ask her for money?
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Now we got it. Now you can be seated.
Okay,
thank you very much. See, I knew you might lie about your mother, Mr. Stephan, but I knew you wouldn't lie about your grandmother. You made some payments to your mother on this bail. How many payments did you make on the bail?
I gave her a couple $100.
Just answer my question.
I gave her a couple $100.
$200.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that what he gave you?
He actually paid it to the bonds company.
How much does he still owe? When you paid off the entire amount?
$1,350.
Okay, so these are my questions, Mr. Stephan. When you forged those checks with your buddy and got some cash, whatever it was, $1,500, did you buy anything for your mother?
No, ma'am.
Did you buy anything for your grandmother?
No, ma'am.
Did you give your mother any money?
No, ma'am.
Did you give your grandmother any money?
No, ma'am.
Did your mother get any enjoyment whatsoever from the proceeds of your forgery?
No.
Did she know or in any way help you forge those checks?
No.
So that when you got busted for check forgery, this was owing solely to your bad behavior, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Why should anybody else suffer for your bad behavior?
They shouldn't.
Great. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $1,350. Thank you,
Judge.
All parties in the matter of Bryson versus McCann, step forward.
15-year-old Ryan Bryson and his mother Tammy are suing the father of Ryan's former friend, Christopher McCann, for medical bills. Ryan claims Christopher's son, Zach, knocked out his teeth with a bottle.
Mrs. Bryson, it is your claim that this young man caused injury to your son's tooth.
That's correct.
They were playing a game. His father says it was an accident. They were both fooling around, and accidents happen. So since neither you nor Mr. McCain were there, you can both sit down. What's your first name?
Ryan.
And yours?
Zach.
How long have you been friends?
About 2 or 3 months.
When did this accident happen?
December 20th.
What were you doing?
We were sliding this replica of this plastic bottle back and forth.
Sliding it?
Yeah, sliding.
Where were you?
By my locker, which is like in the 3rd wing of the school.
I want you to show me how you were sliding it.
We were sliding it back and forth.
No, show me on the ground how you were sliding it. You can step right in front of the bench. Step in front of the bench, over there. Show me how you were sliding it.
We were both sitting down, and we were sliding.
Sitting down on what?
On the carpet.
Sit down. Go ahead. So you're sliding it. Let me see how you're sliding it.
It's like that.
Right. And what were you doing with it, Zach?
Throwing it back.
Was he sliding it or throwing it?
We were playing catch. We were throwing it back and forth. That's not true, Your Honor.
Sure it is. Now you can stand up. Go ahead, Ryan.
Well, we were sliding it back and forth, and then all of a sudden he threw it and it knocked out my teeth. And I don't know why he did that. I did not do anything to provoke him or anything. I never once picked it up and thrown it at him. We were sliding it back and forth.
Go ahead.
We were not sliding it on the ground. We were playing catch, and it was an accident. It was just one catch that he did not catch, and it
How many times was the bottle thrown?
Probably 15 to 20 times.
Anybody else there?
No. It was pretty late after school. It was pretty much cleared out.
After it was thrown, you had pain?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, do you think, Zach, that part of the injury to his teeth is your fault?
No, I do not.
Well, you're wrong.
I do not think that it was my fault. We were both playing the game, and we both accepted the probability of it happening. And
no, that's a lot of baloney that your father gave you. If you take an instrumentality and use it in a way other than for which it was designed, do you understand what that means?
Yes.
And there's an accident with it, you are at least partially responsible. Now, if you were drinking that and he ran into the bottle, then he caused that himself because you were using it in a way that it was designed to be used because you were drinking it.
Mm-hmm.
But you weren't using it that way. You were playing catch with it.
Yes, ma'am.
And if you're playing catch with something that's dangerous, clearly it could be dangerous, right?
Yes.
Then you have to use care, right?
Yes.
Now, I'm not saying that it's all your fault because he chose to play with you. And if you think that for a minute that I believe that you were rolling this, you're nuts. Because I know you weren't rolling it, and you know you weren't rolling it. You may have rolled it once or twice, but you were playing catch with it also, right?
No, that's not
Yeah,
right.
I don't believe you, Ryan. I don't believe you. I don't believe that the first time this was thrown, it hit you in the mouth. And I certainly don't believe that Zach intended to hurt you. You think he intended to hurt you?
Yes, Your Honor, I do. Because it had been thrown at a great force to knock out my teeth.
Well, then there's something wrong with you. I don't know who you've been talking to. I know who he's been talking to. I don't know who you've been talking to. If you were sitting and playing with him outside, why in the world would he pick up that and throw it with such force at your face to hurt you? Did you had a fight with him?
No.
Well, then why did you think he had a psychotic moment?
No, Your Honor, not.
So why would you think he would want to hurt you?
Because it has to be thrown at a great force to knock out my teeth.
No. Just caught you in the wrong position. Listen, if you played with something and you played with it in a way that it was not intended, then you assume part of the risk. But he's only partially responsible. And his father's partially responsible because he's too little, despite what your father says. Do you understand why?
Yes.
Do you understand the whole context? What about you, sir? You now understand?
I don't know. I'm having troubles with that.
Well, stand up. I'll give you a lesson. What do you use to cut steak?
Knife. Steak knife.
And when you use it properly to cut steak, nothing bad happens to you, right?
Right.
If you decide to play salugi with a steak knife, they you still use that word?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Throwing it. If you decide to throw a steak knife back and you get all cut up, whose fault is that?
I don't know. That's kind of, isn't that on both of them? I mean, it's
Right, that's what you said, a very good thing. You want to say it a little louder?
on both of them.
That's the answer. Because you are using the knife for an activity for which it was not designed. It was not designed to be used as a baseball or a rubber ball. It was designed to be used to cut your meat. Similarly, that bottle that your son purchased out of a vending machine was designed to drink. He and his friend decided to use it for another purpose, and it became dangerous, as evidenced by the fact that it knocked out his 2 front teeth. So both of them are responsible, not just him. He just looked the other way. Okay. Now you can stand up with him. How much were your medical bills?
The emergency care that day to get his teeth glued back in place was $572, and then the estimated cost to get the other part, with all of it together, comes to $4,070. And I have x-rays and pictures of the teeth that were broke out.
What do you have in there now, temporaries?
Yeah, they're just temporary glued on right now.
There's teeth that were the pieces that they could glue back in with fillings, piece filled in, until the nerves could settle down. The dentist said he wanted to wait 8 weeks before he did the root canals and the crowns for the mouth to settle down.
Okay.
Your Honor, may I say something?
Yes.
Okay. This started out as $800, and it's slowly gone up as the weeks have gone up. It ended at $3,000. Now it's at $4,000.
It's not all your responsibility. It's partially your responsibility because your son assumed the risk of playing with him.
Well, this is its tip of the iceberg. He's going to have crowns replaced later on in his life, too.
There's no question, as a result of their boredom at the end of the day, which is what it was, that
he should have been walking home.
Should have been walking home. And it happens. I mean, you know, unfortunately, we hate when it happens to our children.
Yes.
The front 2 teeth.
It's his front tooth and the tooth next to it.
Those are always the teeth that go, the ones right when you smile. I know. And you have to pay to have them fixed, and that's what it is. $4,000 divided by 2 is $2,000. Judgment for the plaintiff in that amount. That's all. Thank you.
Why are you so excused when they step out?
I guess I'm going to sign up for baseball. It was full, half full. Brian needs to sign up too because he doesn't know how to catch a bottle.
Nothing, I pretty much blacked out. My teeth fell out of my hand.
Amelia Tarabi is suing her neighbor, Jessica Golden, for damage to her car caused by her pit bull. Amelia claims the dog scratched the paint while sunbathing on the roof.
Ms. Tarabi, you and the defendant are neighbors, and according to your complaint, the defendant has a couple of dogs, large dogs.
Yes.
You had a new car, and it is your claim that her dogs jumped on both the hood and the roof of your car to get the sun and caused damage and scratching to the car. You want the defendant to pay for that damage. And in addition to that, you say that you were forced to park in the street at some point and got a parking ticket. You want her to pay the parking ticket. Forget the parking ticket. You park in the street, that's your problem. Let's get to the scratched car. What kind of property do you live in? Do you live in a condo unit? Do you have a private house?
We live in a duplex, so it's just the 2 of our units, and there's a long driveway, and there's a gate which sections off the back where we park our cars. We're both allowed to have 2 cars back there.
Is it a backyard?
There's a yard, and there's also a concrete driveway, as well as garage space.
Did you ever see the defendant's dog?
Yes.
When?
It was about a week after I noticed the damages. When I got back from out of town and I noticed the damages, I called her and I told her what had happened.
Tell me what you saw.
I saw dog scratches all over the hood of the car.
I understand you say that the car was damaged and scratched. A week later, you saw her dogs on the car. Tell me exactly what you saw.
Okay. I looked out of my kitchen window as I was walking by it, and I saw her dog on top of my car on the roof, where there would be a sunroof, laying on the roof.
Were her dogs regularly in the backyard without being leashed?
Yes.
Did you ever discuss that with her?
Yes, but it was just something that was put to me that that's what I got this apartment for, and my dogs are going to be in the yard. So there was nothing I could do about keeping her dogs in or out of the yard, and they'd start barking at 7:30 in the morning until 10 o'clock at night, but they had never caused damage to any of the vehicles back there before.
Did anyone else see her dogs on the top of your car?
Yes, the day that I looked out of my kitchen window, my friend Andrew was over, we were having lunch, and I saw the dog on my car, and I ran down the back stairs to shoo the dog off of my car. Andrea was still upstairs.
Your last name?
Labe.
Tell me what you saw, Miss Labe, and if you remember the date, I would appreciate it.
I don't remember the exact date. It was mid-October.
Okay.
I was over at Amelia's house. We were in her kitchen. She happened to cross by the window that looked into the backyard. She looked out the window and said something to the effect of, "Oh my gosh," and ran down the back staircase. I went over to the window to see what she had seen, and as I looked out the window, I saw a white and brown pit bull sitting on the top of her car sunbathing, just kind of laying there, sunbathing. And as I continued to look, I saw Amelia go into the backyard and shoo the dog off the car. It proceeded to simply get up, walk down the front of the car and get off the car.
You have pictures of the damage?
I do.
I'd like to take a look at it.
There's also pictures of the layout of the backyard and all of the scratches. And there's a picture of the dog as well.
What happened when you called the defendant?
When I first noticed the scratches and the damages, I called her. I was at the grocery store. I had just gotten out of my car, and I called her, and she apologized and said that she would pay for the damages and that we had to figure out a solution so that this wouldn't happen again. And then about a week later, I got an email from her saying that she had spoken to her mother and other people, and they didn't feel that it was her responsibility to pay for the damages.
Did you have the car fixed?
No, it has not been repaired yet.
Did you get an estimate?
I did get an estimate. I've gotten 3 estimates, and I picked the one that's right in the middle.
I'd like to see all that. Okay, Miss Golden, why are your dogs let out in the backyard without any supervision?
Well, it's a fenced-in yard, and that's part of the reason why I moved there originally, because it's so hard to find yard in Los Angeles. So I thought it would be great that I could have a yard for my dogs. But there is a 3-car garage that she could park her car in that she just chooses not to. If she actually thought there was a problem with my dogs have never...
They were on the hood of her car.
I've never seen my dogs.
I don't care whether you haven't seen it. There's no question. I don't care whether you've seen it or not.
That's fine.
They saw it, and she saw it, and I absolutely believe them that your pit bull was taking a sunbath.
This is the first I've ever heard of that. So she never told me that.
That's not
She
true.
said that the car was scratched.
No.
When she came to me...
Miss Golden, she came to you and said her car was scratched. She wanted you to pay for it?
Yeah.
She didn't say to you, I just saw your car?
Absolutely
not.
The dog? We were in my bedroom. She came to me very casual and said, this was on October 8th, and she said, there's a couple scratches on my car that your dogs did. I go,
That's
no
not
worries.
true.
It was just something that came out of her mouth.
Oh, no.
I
Miss
said,
Golden,
no worries.
that's not true. That's not true. No, my dear.
It is
That is
true.
absolutely not true.
It is true.
I wasn't even
I mean,
back.
you could say it, and I can say it.
We were sitting.
I
she was
guarantee
sitting on my
you.
bed.
Listen
I
to me.
remember.
I guarantee you, the last word will be mine. Playpen. This is my playpen. She does not look like a nut, and her friend does not look like a nut, and there would have been no reason for her to come across to your house that day unless she and her friend, who I absolutely believe, saw your dog. I mean, your dog wasn't doing anything terrible, wasn't chewing off somebody's leg, but was taking a sunbath on her car. And my question to you is, it's nice to want to have a nice backyard, but when you signed your lease, you also knew that the defendant had the right to park her car back there, as you do.
Well, because of this, I've had to get rid of the dogs.
Just a second. Does your lease provide that your dogs can be in the backyard unsupervised?
Absolutely.
Let me see it.
Her lease.
I don't have the lease. It doesn't say anything about the dogs, but I'm allowed to have full reign of the yard.
I
We
just want
share
to
the
see,
yard.
just a second. I just want to see that your lease provides that you're allowed to have dogs that have full reign, unsupervised, in the backyard. Show me that.
I don't have my lease with me.
I have emails from the landlord saying that she was in
Don't
violation
tell
of the
me
lease.
what the emails from the landlord are.
There's cats also that are in the yard, and raccoons and possums, and we have fruit trees with rats, so a lot of animals come into our yard.
That's very possible.
So I have pictures of cats that were in the yard.
You have pictures
that were
of
right
cats.
next to
Just a second. Do you have pictures of cats that were on the roof of her car?
Absolutely not, but neither does she.
She doesn't need any pictures. She has a witness who I believe.
I have 2 60-pound dogs, and if a dog were to go on the roof of her car, I'm pretty sure that it would dent the top of her car.
You have an expert?
My
question is, do you have an expert witness here to testify that if a 60-pound dog sat on the roof of a car, it would dent it?
Not with me today, but the
well,
people that
today
I
is when you were
called, that
supposed to
was
come
what
to
they
court,
said.
Miss Golden. Today is when you bring your
I couldn't
witnesses.
get anybody to come because they all had to work, and nobody
Miss
wants
Golden,
to deal with court.
I'm not interested in sad stories. I'm telling you, I'm not interested in cats in the backyard, in raccoons in the backyard, unless you have pictures of them or somebody saw them on the roof of her car. She has a witness who I believe, and I believe her, that the reason she came to you was because she had this happened a week before, and she had no idea how it happened. Until that day, she looked out the window, and unfortunately for you, she saw one of your dogs taking a sunbath on the roof of her car. I absolutely believe her. Otherwise, she would have come to you immediately and said, listen, I have to pin this on somebody. I might as well pin it on your dogs. Right?
Well, I didn't want to pin it on anybody, but I knew it was her dogs because they were in the backyard unsupervised, and there was 3 of them.
I don't care whether it was 3 of them or not. She could have had 30 dogs unsupervised. Unless you saw one on the roof, You weren't going to convince
She
me that her
continued
dogs
to
are
park her
responsible.
car there for a month after this had already happened.
She what?
If my dogs did it, why would she continue to park her car where my dogs were and continue to let her car be damaged?
What would you prefer that she do? Rent a car
We have a
space someplace
driveway
else?
that fits outside of the gate where my dogs usually are. There's a driveway that fits 4 cars.
Where do you park your car?
I park my car in the gate, but sometimes I park it outside of the gate.
But you park your car behind the gate. Shh, listen to me carefully. You live in Los Angeles?
Yeah.
Is there a reason you park your car behind the gate?
I park my car behind the gate because I have a son, so it's easier to let him in and out.
How old is your son?
2 years old.
So he gets in and out of the car by himself?
No, I'm saying.
So what
it's
difference does it
easier
make whether you
when
park
I pull
the
in the
car in the
back,
gate?
like have the groceries and everything. I'm not
Ms.
worried
Golden,
about
you got an
letting
answer
him
for
out.
everything. Charging for the plaintiff the amount of $2,400. That's all. Go get the car painted. That's all.
All parties in the matter of Hall versus Smith. Step forward.
Harriet Hall is suing the mother of her grandchild, 22-year-old Allie Smith, for the cost to care for her children after she failed a court-ordered drug test.
Miss Hall, you have a son.
Yes.
Your son made a baby with this lady.
Yes.
This lady had a child from another relationship.
Yes.
You get a call from this lady who's both my kids because I had a positive drug test. Is that right?
Yes.
And would you help me out and take my children because otherwise they're going to go into foster care?
Yes.
You say okay. And you took both her children, your grandchild and her other child. How old?
2.5.
How long did you have the children with you?
Till March 19th, 4 months.
For how many? 4 months.
4 months.
You want Miss Smith to pay support for that child, not your grandchild, but for the other toddler for the 4 months that you had him, the boy?
Yes.
And Miss Smith says that there was never an agreement to pay you for either of the children, so she has no obligation to pay you. Is that your defense?
Yes.
You don't have to have an agreement with her.
She didn't ask for any money. She has never asked me for any money until last month when I got this thing in the mail saying that I owed her money.
You mean she never asked you for any support for
Never.
the child? What month did your 2 children go to live with Miss Hall?
December 6th of 2006.
What kind of drugs were you abusing?
Meth.
That's serious stuff.
Very serious.
Did you go into a residential drug treatment program?
No, ma'am. I went to outpatient treatment. I've been clean now for 13 months.
You working?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Great. Your 2 children with you?
Yes, ma'am.
You living on your own?
Yes, ma'am.
Who takes care of the children when you're working?
I have a daycare provider.
All that sounds right to you?
No.
You mean she's not working?
She is working.
She's taking care of her children? They live with her?
Yes.
She has her children in daycare when she's working?
Yes.
So what doesn't sound right to you?
That she wouldn't pay.
Well, I'm not talking about paying. I'm talking about the fact that 13 months later, she seems to be doing very well, right?
Yes.
Why all of a sudden, after 13 months, are you suing her?
Because she's working now and she can help pay me back for the support that I did on Aiden.
Okay. That's reasonable. Did you ever ask her to help you with the support?
Yeah, she said she would the day that I got the kids.
Well, she was pretty messed up. She was using very, very heavy drug. When she got the children back, did you discuss with her finances?
No, I haven't.
So when, for the first time since she got the children back, was she aware of the fact that you wanted her to pay you back for some of the expenses for the child? Did you just serve her with a summons?
Yes.
Why?
Because I felt that she owed for the kids. I took them on extra visits for her. I've done a lot
I
for
understand
her.
that, but weren't you seeing your granddaughter?
Yeah, but she wouldn't let me have her anymore. Now just my son. I have to take my son to pick her up. I can't see her.
Why?
Because she doesn't like me, I guess. I don't know.
Why?
Because she would come to my house and she would throw little fits. She would call people and tell them that I had people living with me that I didn't have living with me. The only reason she did this with the summons is because I wouldn't let her son claim our daughter on his taxes.
You mean for last year?
For 2007. I had them for 9 months out of the year, and I didn't think that
Does he pay support?
Yes, he does.
How much does he pay?
About $400 a month.
Why don't you work something out with him so that 1 year you can claim it, 1 year he can claim it?
Maybe, yeah.
Well,
we
doesn't that
never
sound
even,
reasonable?
me and him discussed it, and we were fine with it. It was when she come over and said that Gene was upset with me, so I don't know.
Miss
Me and
Hall,
him would discuss it.
Your mistake is that I wouldn't have served her with a summons, since clearly you care for your granddaughter. You wanted to help her out, but you also wanted your granddaughter in a safe place. So that's what you're supposed to do as a grandmother, to make sure that your grandchild is safe. The fact that you took her other child was very nice of you. Why didn't your other child go with your mother?
Because my mother couldn't take them.
Couldn't take even one of them?
No.
Okay.
And also, she was my son's grandmother before my daughter was even born. If he walked into this courtroom today, he would definitely call her grandma.
Well, she took care of him.
Right.
Okay, you do understand that whether or not you had an agreement with her, you owe her for your son's necessaries. She's not seeking any money, but only for your son. So whether or not you had an agreement with her, the law says that you have to pay her for some of the child's necessary expenses.
Okay.
Where is the father of that child?
He's not in the picture.
Okay. How much do you claim that you spent on this child?
For rent.
Forget rent.
$2,200.
Tell me what it was for.
Okay, rent was $750.
Forget rent.
And December.
Listen to me. Did you move?
Okay. Yes, I moved from my mother's to my sister's because we didn't have enough bedrooms at my mom to deal with the kids. So I moved in with my sister.
You were living with your mother?
Yes, because I was taking care of her.
Tell me the living situation in your sister's house with you and the children. Where did everybody sleep?
Okay, Aiden had a bedroom upstairs, and Addison and I had a bedroom together upstairs. And we had use of the washer, the dryer, the kitchen.
Just a second. How much did you pay in check or cash to your sister each week or month?
Each week I paid $100.
Or $400
a month.
And how many months were you with your sister?
We were there 103 days.
How many months were you with your sister? So you paid her a total of $1,600. Is that correct?
It wasn't exactly 4 months. It was a week short of 4 months. Aiden was there 15 weeks. So what she paid for him was $750. What she paid total would have been $1,500.
Okay, so $1,500. And you are ascribing half of that to her child?
Well, he had one room, she had one room.
I don't care. That's 3 people. What difference does it make?
I rented out by the room.
I don't care. That's a judgment that she made. They could have all stayed in one room. Okay, so
Not
let's
according
say...
to DHS.
Well, are you certified as a multiple dwelling? Are you certified? Is your home certified as a multiple dwelling? Right. So that's $500. What else?
Then in December, I didn't have protective daycare until January. So I paid for daycare out of my pocket. And for December, we turned in for $380, and they paid $190 of it.
How much?
For Addison's, but they did not pay Aiden's $190.
They did not?
No.
Why?
Because he was not my grandson.
So that's $690. What else?
Okay, and then mileage for daycare.
Forget it.
Okay. And diapers and miscellaneous was $320.
Yeah.
And then we bought clothes and shoes for him and stuff. We estimated $160.
Where are the receipts for that?
I didn't bring no receipts for clothing and shoes.
So far, she owes you $990.
And then we bought toys and books and stuff for him.
Did you return them to her when you gave them back?
We gave him some of the toys and some of it, not all of it.
If you didn't give it back to his mother, then you don't get paid for it.
Yeah, but I gave her clothes and shoes and all that stuff that I bought.
Well, show me the receipts.
I didn't bring receipts.
Well, this is what you're supposed
Part
to bring.
of them were gifts for Christmas.
Don't shout out. I believe that the defendant owes you some money for taking care of her child. It is apparent to me that some of the money that you would like to claim that she owes you was money that was spent jointly for both children. You were going to take your granddaughter to daycare anyway, so the mileage is ridiculous to try to have her pay for. She's a woman who has put her life back in order. She's been self-supporting. She takes care of her 2 children. How much do you pay for daycare?
I don't. It's provided by the state.
Great. How much do you earn?
About $450 every 2 weeks.
Okay. Plaintiff is seeking $2,200 from you. I think that that's excessive.
Very.
I think that for rent and food stuff, your portion of that should be $990. And that includes a portion for rent, some for food, clothing, and miscellaneous stuff. Really comprises the rest, and the daycare.
With the clothing, toys, they didn't bring anything home with him. The only thing that they brought home with him, when I got them back on March 19th, I sent him with a basket of clothes, and that was exactly what they brought back. The basket of clothes with his movies in the bottom. It looked as if they never even touched it, and that was all that had come home with him.
I'm sure that they did take care, and I'm sure if he was not clean and well kept and everything else, the daycare would have registered a complaint, which they did. But that's what you are. Okay. And I think that it's great that you're in a position now to help her.
Right.
And I'm sure you thank her and are grateful that you kept the kids out of foster care, both of the kids out of foster care. And it's wonderful that you put yourself back together. So judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $990. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, I don't think it was quite fair. I should have been paid for all of it.
She never asked me for any money. She never asked me for anything.
I did go out of my way and I worked long hours.
She did take care of my son and my daughter for quite a couple months.
My family and everybody helped provide for these kids, and we took care of them.
I'm thankful to her, and so I think it was fair.
Her family should have, you know, helped with the diapers and the care of it instead of harassing me. They should have helped.
She could have just asked me for it. Maybe we could have made out a payment plan or anything, but she didn't.
I just felt that Allie should talk to me, but she never had time because her mother was always there on Sundays.
She did it, not me. And if she's going to act that way, then maybe it's better off that she's not around them.
She said she would do anything to help if I would take Aiden to keep Addison and Aiden together.
I don't know if I want them to even be around her.
I would help her and the kids because I love them all.
Keep your kids with you.
Everybody should stay friends and talk more.
Store owner Daniel Alvarez is suing his customer, Carmen Burgos, for cashing a counterfeit check at his store. Carmen says she was the victim of an internet scam.
Mr. Alvarez, what kind of store do you have, sir?
I have a general store. We sell music, we cash checks, we sell satellite. It's a little bit of everything.
The defendant was a customer of yours?
A regular customer. She had been there at least 4 or 5 occasions cashing checks.
And you charge a fee for that?
Yes, we do.
According to your complaint, sir, she came in with a check, which you cashed for her.
Correct.
And it turned out to be a bad check.
Yes.
And your bank withdrew the money from your account. You want her to compensate you for the check.
That is correct.
Ms. Burgos says it was a bad check. She was conned with this check, and she's sorry that you're out the money, but it's not her fault. It's the fault of the people who scammed her. That's her defense. Is that correct?
Yes,
Ms.
Your Honor. I shouldn't
so
be
I want
held
you to
liable
tell
for it.
What?
I shouldn't be held liable for it because I had
Ms.
the
Burgos.
evidence. Yes.
Let's start from the beginning. Where did you get this check from?
It was mailed to me.
From an employer?
No, I'm always on the computer and I'm always filling out sweepstakes and filling out numbers for lotto and that. So when I received the check...
So you received the check because you thought you won a prize?
Yes, correct.
But she didn't tell me that, Your Honor. I'm sorry.
Don't interrupt her.
I'm sorry.
Your Honor, he wasn't there at the moment.
Listen to me.
Yes.
You got a check in the mail and you didn't know where it came from.
Correct. Yes, I thought
so
it was
you thought
a
maybe
sweepstakes.
that you had played around with on the computer?
Yes, correct.
You have a copy of the letter?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to take a look at it.
Well, I have a copy because I gave Mr. Alvarez the original and the envelope that it came in.
Shh. Mr. Alvarez, I don't want you to interrupt her.
That's the original. That is the original. Cool.
And I also gave him the envelope it came in.
Now, this letter says that you won the North American Ballot Sweepstakes.
Correct.
And it tells you to call Debbie Baum in Canada.
Yes, Your Honor, and that's who I called.
Just for my own information, when you called her, what is it that you claim she said to you?
Well, I called her because at first I,
Joe, tell me. Just answer my question.
I asked her about that I had received a check for a sweepstake for the sum of $2,900. And she told me yes, and I told her what it says here for processing. She goes, oh, no, that's no problem. You could go ahead and change. That's part of what you have won. There's 72 people that are in with it.
I read the letter. There's 72 people that are going to share in $1.8 million.
Right, and that's just the beginning of it, so you could go ahead and cash it.
Cash
so
it.
that's right.
Fine.
I went to
you have
Mr.
a copy of the check?
Yes, I have
I'd
the
like
original.
To see it. Oh, you have the original?
Yes.
Love
the bank
to see
returned it to me.
Love to see it. So you took the check into him?
Yes, correct.
To cash?
Yes. Like I've taken other checks.
State Employees Credit Union of Maryland, Inc. Well, I have to tell you, this certainly looks like, to my untrained eye, an official kind of check.
Exactly. That's why I went to him and I cashed it.
Miss Burgos, I got it. You thought you woke up and it was your lucky day.
Yes, correct.
Bird, take a look at this. An interesting looking check? Right?
Wow. It even says official check.
It even says
Correct.
official
That's
check.
why I
and, just a minute, and they don't even ask you to do anything, like
Correct.
send them
That's
back
why-
half in this letter.
That's why I was like...
Don't, I'm speaking. Don't bother me. They don't even ask you to send back half. You know, sometimes say, send us $500 as a processing fee, and they just say, here's your $2,900.
Does it back?
Yeah. She signed it, and it came back that it was suspected counterfeit. In any event, you gave her the money.
Yes, I did.
You have proof of that?
Just from the bank when they took the money out because...
I'd like to see it. Now, when you were notified by the bank,
Right.
yeah, they charged your account for $29.50.
Correct.
Okay. Now, when did you cash the check for her? On what date?
Around the 14th of November.
And the bank returned the check to you when?
They didn't return it until the 20th or 21st, but they notified me 2 days later. First,
So
they
on the
notified me.
16th.
Correct.
And when did you
I'm sorry, Your Honor,
notify?
it was after that.
Stop talking out. This is not a tea party. Now, when did you notify Miss Burgos?
That same day.
On the 16th,
Exactly.
2 days later.
Exactly.
How did you notify her?
I called her son-in-law because I know her son-in-law very well, and I called him up and I asked him to bring her over.
And when did he bring her over?
That same day.
On the 16th?
Exactly.
Okay, now tell me on the 16th what you said to her. And what she
I
said
told
to
her, Miss Burgos, this check has returned counterfeit from the bank.
And she said to you?
I didn't know. And she produced this letter.
Good.
Correct. I said I
Sure,
didn't
sure,
know.
sure. So why didn't you return the money to him?
At the moment, I didn't have the money. I had paid some of debts that I had.
Just
So
a second. What difference does that make to him? Put your hand down. First of all, it's 2 days later.
It's not 2 days later, Your Honor. It was more than 2 days
How
later.
many days?
It was about 4 or 5 days later.
4 days. Show me what debts you paid.
Well, I had some medical bills that I had to pay, so I went
Just a
ahead.
second. So you paid your medical bills.
Sure.
Medical bills. What else? What else did you
paid
pay?
my electric bill, my phone bill, all my bills, and I
Now,
had
let me
a
ask
few-
you this question, Ms. Burgos. Before you came into this cash windfall, how did you pay your electric bill?
Well, I would pay it monthly.
From what?
From what I receive and also
What do you
my
mean from what you
children's-
receive? I don't understand that statement. Do you
Well,
work?
I get a Social Security check every month.
For what?
For disability.
What's the nature of your disability?
For asthma, arthritis.
You have asthma and arthritis and you can't work?
No.
I know a lot of people who have asthma and arthritis who can work just fine.
I had back problems. I was diagnosed with disability. So I...
Wait, just a second. When were you diagnosed with a disability from asthma and arthritis?
2 years ago.
Ms. Burgos, I'm believing less and less of what you tell me, madam, but I will tell you this. If you paid your bills, which you are responsible for paying, your medical bills, your electric bill, your phone bill, and I don't care what other kind of bills you paid, allegedly, and I know you're
also, I
lying.
bought
Listen
a
to
few-
me, and I know you're lying anyway.
No, I bought
Listen
a few
to me.
Christmas
Listen to me
presents,
very
yes.
carefully, and I know you're lying anyway. Then you have to pay him back the money.
Correct.
You paid your bills. You paid your bills. You're a scammer.
She told me
Let me
right
ask you this question. Who do you live with?
I live with my son and my daughter.
How old are they?
My daughter's 22 and my son is 19.
And what does your daughter do for a living?
She works. And my son
And your
also.
son?
He works.
Works.
They're the ones that help me with all the bills.
Because you don't work?
Yes.
Because of your asthma?
Yes.
She didn't tell me that. That day when she came in, she told me that she had only spent about $500 to $700
No, I told you that's
of
what
the
I
money.
Miss
had. I had
Burgos!
$500
Miss
to
Burgos!
I
$700.
asked her specifically.
That's what I
I'm
told
sorry.
him I had.
Did you give it to him?
No,
Just
he told me.
Shh. So why did you spend that money instead of giving it back to him?
Well, I didn't have it on me at that time.
Why didn't you go home and get it?
The gentleman told me, Mr. Alvarez told me that he was going to send that letter, the letter from that they had
That is
received
not
to
true.
the bank. Yes, it is, Mr. Alvarez.
Just
that
a second.
He was going
So
to take
what?
that
If
letter
there's a
to the
question, listen
bank.
to me. If there's a question, why didn't you say, listen, if there's a question and if this check was bad, I don't want Mr. Alvarez to be out the rest of this money. I'm going to hold what I haven't spent and give it to him if he's out of pocket.
Well, I had held it. I had it.
So
and
why
when-
didn't you give it to him?
Because when I spoke to Mr. Alvarez on the phone, I told him I have the $500. He says, no, I want all the money. That's what he said.
That is
and I
true?
says, well, I don't have all the money at the moment, okay? I could give you at least $500 at a time. He said, no, I want all the money at the same
You want to know
time.
something? You're a scammer.
It was-
You've been scamming
no.
Social Security in all probability for the
No,
last
I
2
haven't.
years.
I
I don't know
haven't.
how you got Social Security disability. How old are you?
I'm 47.
47. I know people who are 67 with asthma, they work.
No, I am disabled.
You must have had a
It was-
really, really fine lawyer. You owe him $2,950, Miss Burgos. You were a scammer, and you knew you did the wrong thing as soon as he told you that that check came back.
Yes.
People very rarely get windfalls of money from the internet. Very rarely.
I'm not a
Don't look like this to me.
I'm
I
not a
don't
scammer
know.
because
I don't know
that
how I
letter
got
had
Social
said-
Security disability. I don't know where I got this check from. I don't know. Well, now you know that this man who was doing you a favor cashed your check and got penalized because of your stupidity. He got penalized, but you said, listen, I got the money. Let him go after the people. Let him go after. I'm speaking.
No, I didn't.
Let him go after the people.
I did not think that way.
Well, then you should have returned the money that you hadn't spent.
Okay, I did not. He didn't want the money that I had not spent.
So you spent the rest. Just a second. Hey,
I still have the $500.
To set an example, Miss Burgos, for your children. You're not supposed to be a scammer.
I'm not a scammer.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. And you believed in getting something for nothing.
No,
and you put him in a very precarious position. You've got a lot of nerve.
I have never.
You've got a lot of nerve. Your children should not. Your children are not going to be proud of you after today. Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $29.50. That's all. Step out.
How this all came about?
I do. We're going to find out.
Thank you. Thank you.
Miss Bell.
Yes.
How old are you?
22.
You work?
Yes.
For whom?
My father.
Doing what?
I'm a receptionist of his company. I've been working there for about 5 years.
Is it a successful company?
Yes.
How many children?
I have one brother and one sister.
Is your sister younger or older?
She's older. She's 32.
So you're the baby daughter?
Yes.
Pretty one.
Thank you.
According to what I read, you used to be involved romantically with him.
Mm-hmm.
The one who's going to sit up and uncross his arms.
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
And he was a friend of this one.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So you became a friend of this one.
Well, I was friends with him before Jesse and I actually got into a relationship.
And I gather that your father must have been thrilled with your choice of boyfriend.
Absolutely not.
Now, I could tell that before I even sat down. Because these two charmers ended up in jail.
Correct.
For whatever. We'll figure it out. And it is your claim that you loaned Mr. Carper money to pay off his criminal fines.
Correct.
Mr. Carper says that you did pay off his criminal fines, and you did so as a gift because you were a friend of his. He says you were more than a friend of his, that you had a romantic relationship.
We were never boyfriend and girlfriend.
Listen, he didn't say boyfriend and girlfriend, he just says you were intimate with both of them.
No.
And all I can say is yuck. Can you imagine a father who has a company that has enough money to employ a receptionist? And this is the boyfriend and this is the friend that she goes to visit both of them in jail? How many times did you go to visit them in jail?
I never visited them in jail.
Oh, good. At least thank God for that.
No.
What were you in jail for, Mr. Carper?
Personal reasons, ma'am.
Personal reasons is not a criminal offense. Quiet.
I made stupid decisions, Your Honor.
Mr. Carper, when I ask a question, I expect an answer.
Yes, ma'am.
What were you in jail for?
Possession.
Possession of?
Schedule 2 substance.
What kind of substance?
Pills.
Was it the first time you were arrested?
No, ma'am.
And the last time you were arrested was when, sir?
Before I got incarcerated.
When were you incarcerated?
It's March of 2002.
And how long were you in prison?
30 months.
What prison?
Coffeewood and Camp 7.
Are you still on parole status?
Yes, ma'am.
Until when?
It's indefinite.
You're on indefinite parole?
Yes, ma'am.
Fabulous. Now, your friend, what's his name?
Jesse Goff.
Jesse. How long have you and Jesse been friends?
Since I was 5 years old, ma'am.
And what was he in prison for?
Assault.
Assault?
Yes, ma'am.
How long had Jesse and Miss Bell been friends?
They had known each other for a long time. I never met her. She said I knew her before they started dating. I never met this girl until I came home. I didn't know who she was. So that's a lie right there.
How long did you think they were involved? He was in prison with you, right?
We were in the county jail together.
Oh.
Yes, ma'am.
When were you in the county jail together?
2003.
Did he know her then? Were they involved then?
I take it. No, they weren't involved.
No. We were
when
not.
did you first hook up with Jesse?
I started talking to Jesse actually back in high school, about 9th grade.
When did you start to see him romantically?
I want to say July.
And he's just out of jail?
Yes.
You're his mother?
I am.
Sometimes you bake a souffle and it falls. Happens. Tell me about the loan.
I loaned him $4,589 on September 29th to pay off his charges, which I have receipts of.
Well, tell me how it came about that you laid out that money.
Well, I saw him apply after job after job after job, and he kept getting turned down because he didn't have his license. And
what do you mean you saw him?
Well, I would take him and Mr. Goff to apply at jobs. And
why would you do that?
I was trying to help them out by taking them to fill out job applications so they could get a job, and I didn't want them to get locked back up. And I asked Mr. Carper if I were to pay off his fines, he could get his license and get him. And Jesse were willing to be my roommates because I'm going through separation. So
Separation from?
My husband.
You have any children?
I have a 3-year-old daughter.
So you wanted to take your 3-year-old daughter and be their roommate?
Yes.
Who do you live with now?
Now I live with my parents. I'm currently trying to sell.
Stay there, because your judgment is impaired, big time.
Recently it has been, I do agree.
If you are a 22-year-old woman and your judgment is impaired and all you're doing is hurting yourself, that's one thing. But to take your 3-year-old child and on purpose move in out of your parents' home into an apartment with 2 convicted felons who are on parole, one for drugs, and I'm not so sure about him now, is the kind of lapsed judgment that your parents aren't going to tolerate.
It's actually a house that I own, and my husband, my ex, moved out, and I could not afford the mortgage, and I actually lived there, and it was either I find some roommates or I try to
don't care if you have to live in a shelter. You don't take a 3-year-old child and put a 3-year-old child in a circumstance where you have 2 convicted felons, one of whom was there for pills.
I agree.
Got it?
It was also cocaine.
So you paid off his fines?
Yes.
And how was he supposed to pay you back?
He was going to pay me monthly because I actually charged it on a credit card, and he agreed to pay me monthly. At first, a little bit over the minimum payment, and then, you know, he was going to pay me a lot more.
What were the fines for? Can I see the piece of paper that you have? You think that's a real diamond in his ear?
It definitely is.
I doubt it.
Is that a real diamond in your ear?
Of course, ma'am. I don't wear fake things.
What?
I said I don't wear fake things. Yes,
Could I
it is.
see it, please?
You
Yeah,
said
take it out.
Wow.
Thank you. Felony fee, fines, $1,000. Felony fee, $350. Jail admission fee, $25. And court-appointed attorney, $437. Love it. Commonwealth of Virginia. Good for Virginia. And what would happen to you, Mr. Carper, if you didn't pay these fines?
They would probably violate my parole.
And then what would happen to you?
Then I would not see the light of day forever.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Payment of the fine is what?
Punishment.
Right. And if you let somebody else pay your fines, you're allowing somebody else to do your...
Punishment, man.
Is he a quick learner or what?
It's quick.
And later today,
This guy is no good. No bargains.
real people, Judge Judy. Chastity Bell claims her ex-boyfriend's friend, Anthony Carper, owes for a loan to pay court fines.
What do you think fines are for, sir?
To be paid, ma'am.
Because they're part of your what?
Probation.
Part of your what? Punishment.
Yes, ma'am.
And if somebody else pays your fine, then you have no...
Punishment.
Right. Why do you think a court would allow that to happen?
Because it's the law, ma'am.
What's the law? Why do you think a court would allow somebody else to do your punishment? Let me ask you this, sir. We've already established that payment of the fine is what?
Punishment.
Right. And you're going to jail was a form of...
Punishment, ma'am.
Now, you couldn't say to somebody else, listen, I want you to do me a favor. I don't feel like going to jail. I'm going to go out and sell a whole bunch of pills, so I'm going to have a couple of bucks, you know. I'm going to give you $10,000 to do my 30 months. You think that the state would permit that to happen?
No, ma'am.
What would the person say to you now? I don't mind going to jail. I have nothing else to do. I could really use the $10,000. I'll go to jail for you for the 30 months. You think the state would permit that?
No, ma'am.
Because then you wouldn't be doing your own
punishment.
And if you let somebody else pay your fines, you're allowing somebody else to do your
punishment, ma'am.
Is he a quick learner or what? So the first thing you have to do in order to do your punishment is sell your diamonds. That's what the first thing that people do is sell their diamonds, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Then they pay the rest of their debt, $4,500. Maybe you can get $89 for this Hope diamond. When did you give him up as a boyfriend?
We weren't really actually together because he's not capable of just having one girlfriend. We were supposedly together for probably about maybe a month.
You are an articulate, nice-looking girl who clearly has very low self-esteem. Because if you didn't have low self-esteem, you wouldn't have been involved with either one of them.
Correct.
You have parents who have a business, you have a child, you've made some bad judgments, but you're only 22 years old. You have the capacity to change. You have anything you want to add to what I've already said?
I do.
I mean, I'm just dying to hear why you would come be her witness if your son is sitting over there.
Because what's wrong is wrong, and you're absolutely right. He's skating his punishment.
Do you have anything new to add?
I think it's a fine how you do to thank somebody for doing all that she did for you.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. By the way, did she also pay your son's fines?
Yes, she did.
Did he pay her back?
No, we actually go to court for that on March 7th in Prince William County.
Should we just hang out here?
Just a second. Just a second. So why don't you do this? You're his mother, right?
I am.
You made him. You raised him. Why don't you pay his fines?
Because he's 24 years old and I'm not responsible for him anymore.
Right, yeah, I know, but you're more responsible than a stranger. Maybe you should just
I would not have paid his fines in the first place.
You would let him go back to jail?
I would.
You're absolutely right. Sit down. In any event, she paid $4,589 in order to keep you free. I'm entering a judgment for $4,500 and his diamond. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It is what it is, man. She was messing with him. Me and her had a little thing going on.
I made a mistake by trying to help both of them out, and it blew up in my face.
If me and her would have stayed talking, this would have never came about.
Doesn't matter if he's seeing her or not. The money is still owed.
Money is nothing to me. I'll take care of it.
Picking up the phone.
Dewanique Key says her cousin, Datiana Johnson, used her identity during 2 traffic stops. Datiana claims on the first occasion, she was drunk.
You're going to find this really interesting, Bird. Guaranteed. You see, Miss Johnson over here got stopped by the police for a traffic infraction. The first time you were stopped, what kind of violation was it, Miss Johnson?
Speeding.
Speeding. And how fast were you going?
I think I was going like 60, I think, 50.
Could you keep your voice up, please?
Like 60 or about 55.
And when she got stopped for speeding, according to the complaint, which is, you know, not disputed by the defendant, she gave her cousin's name. Your cousin?
Yeah. Yes,
she gave her cousin's name because she didn't want to get in trouble. And that worked out just fine, except she never showed up to pay the ticket or anything else. She just let it go. Right?
Yes.
Then she got stopped again. And she figured it worked so well the first time, according to her.
Why not?
She gave her cousin's name again.
This must be her favorite cousin.
And what did you get stopped for the second time, Miss Johnson?
Running a stoplight.
In what jurisdiction do you live?
Los Angeles.
She again gave her cousin's name.
Well, can I explain the first time, you know?
It's not funny. I don't think you're funny. I don't think you're funny at all. So let me go further, and then we're going to get the details of this fiasco because, you know, I like to sort of lay out the situation. So she gives her cousin's name twice. Her cousin finds out about it. How?
I was getting insurance on my car, and the lady notified me that my license was suspended, and I had 2 tickets on my record. And I could not get insurance until the license was cleared up.
So your license, they suspended your license?
Yes, ma'am.
You're lucky they didn't issue a warrant for your arrest.
Yes. And this was, I was driving around. I didn't find out till like 10 months later that my license, it has been suspended 5 months before I even knew about it.
So she and her cousin discuss it, and she decides to do the responsible civic thing and goes to court and pleads guilty.
I plead guilty.
Yeah, she pleads guilty.
Okay.
And and they assess her fines. And this is what the case is about. She wants her cousin to pay the fines, all the fines, for the 2 tickets she got.
Your Honor.
And the cousin says, I don't know. We're family. Because I was trying to understand what your defense is. So before I go on, I want to tell you both the following. What you did was a crime, Miss Key. Do you know that?
No.
Well, I'm going to explain that to you. When you go into court and you pled guilty, someone said to you, raise your right hand, you swear to tell the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
And then they said to you, what is your name?
Dewani Key.
And you told them your name.
Mm-hmm.
And then they said, how are you pleading? Guilty. You said, I'm pleading guilty. And you're pleading guilty because you were guilty.
No, ma'am.
Well, that's what you were doing. When you enter a plea of guilty, what you're doing is you are perpetrating a fraud on the court. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
That's a crime. You can't do that. You can't do that. And when you gave her name, that is a crime. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
Is this the first time somebody told you it was a crime?
No, it's not.
When for the first time did somebody tell you it was a crime, Miss Johnson?
The second time after I did it.
You mean you didn't know the first time?
Well, the first time I was intoxicated and I just said the first thing came to my mind.
So not only were you speeding, you were drunk and speeding.
It was my birthday. But I mean, I was turning 21. So I was intoxicated that day.
Judge, the only reason why I pled guilty, she agreed to pay me. So we didn't have to go through all these court processes. She said, I'll pay you for it, don't worry about it. Under that, I said, okay. Once I got that money, I told her, this is how much it costs, you owe me this, and it has to be done by August 8th. That was our court date. I didn't get any money but $50 from her.
Just a second. You have a driver's license?
Yes, I do.
Go get it.
Your Honor,
Go
at the time she did.
Get your driver's license.
I didn't bring it with me today.
Go get your pocketbook. Get it and bring it in. Fast. Empty your pocketbook. Is that your driver's license?
My California ID.
I'll take it. Now empty your pocketbook.
I don't have the driver's license here.
Then empty your pocketbook.
You want me to take everything out of my purse?
I want you to give me your driver's license.
I didn't bring it. I didn't drive today.
Unless this court receives your driver's license, madam, within 3 days, it is my intention to inform the police department in Los Angeles to confiscate your driver's license. Do we understand each other? Do we understand each other?
Yes. Can I ask why, though? I mean, this is
because you perpetrated a fraud on the court. Her driver's license was suspended when yours should have been suspended. Don't you get that?
And I had a fake trip here.
Don't you get that? Your driver's license should have been suspended. You were driving according to you drunk. You got a speeding ticket. You gave somebody else's name. The second time you did the same thing. You ran a red light and gave somebody else's name. And you still have a driver's license. Your driver's license should have been suspended. And if I don't get your driver's license so that you don't have it, it is my intention to inform the police department in Los Angeles, which I may do anyway. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
This belongs to me. Now, you have 30 seconds to tell me why you don't owe those fines.
Because I was under the impression that she did community service.
Are you out of your mind? Are you out of your mind?
Well, she told me she was going to do community service.
She's not doing community service for you. Why should she do community service for you? What are you doing?
She was doing it for herself.
I don't understand what you mean she was doing it for herself.
Meaning because that's my name.
I don't understand what you mean she was doing it for herself.
Because she called me and told me that the judge ordered her to do community service. So when she told me that, I thought it was taken care of.
What do you do for a living?
Right now, I'm not employed.
How do you support yourself?
I have ways.
How do you support yourself?
My daughter's father.
Supports you?
Child support, basically.
Who do you live with?
My mother.
Why don't you work?
I was employed. I just recently stopped.
Why?
I was working through an agency, and they're looking for another job for me.
What kind of car do you drive?
A Cadillac.
I asked you a question. An answer I want.
A Cadillac.
What year?
98.
In whose name is the car?
It's in my name.
Where is it registered?
In Los Angeles.
Yes.
She just got that car, so she had plenty of time to pay me back. This car is brand new. Paid cash.
You must get a lot of child support. In any event, Ms. Key, to whom do you owe the fines?
The Los Angeles District Court from Traffic Division, I believe.
And how much is owed to them?
Roughly $1,700. One ticket was $1,189, and the second ticket was $565.
Now, Ms. Key.
Yes, ma'am.
You don't get any award for brains, because what you did was so wrong. And I understand that you may feel as if, well, it's family and you didn't want her to get into trouble.
Yes, ma'am.
But what you did was against the law. You do understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, you deserve to have a consequence. I assume that you did already have a consequence.
I had enough.
You had enough?
Yes.
I believe that that's probably true. She hasn't had any yet, but believe me, she's going to have plenty, because she's not going to have a license to drive around in this new Cadillac that's in her name. Because I had this. And the police department is going to be no. You get it? Perfect. $1,754, judgment for the plaintiff. That's all. Your boyfriend's mother.
Yes.
I assume this is the boyfriend.
Yes, he is.
How long have you been his girlfriend?
We're actually broken up right now. We were dating for about a month.
Not dating anymore?
No.
Any particular reason?
We were good friends, and I didn't want to ruin our friendship.
Okay. It is your complaint that Mrs. Irwin, for no good reason, broke your cell phone.
Yes, she did.
And you want her to pay for it?
Yes.
And Miss Irwin says you were an uninvited guest in her home, and that precipitated this incident with the cell phone. So why don't you tell me when this happened?
This happened in February, the 21st. Ryan and I were dating at the time. We had gotten back to his house. We were watching TV, relaxing.
Where were you watching TV?
Up in his living room. And Bernice came home.
Bernice, that's you?
Yes. And she came home yelling and freaking out on Ryan. She began to yell at him even more and put him down.
What was she saying?
You're a loser, you're good for nothing. And then she began to hit him, smack him in the face.
What did he say to her?
Nothing. Nothing was really said. She was just like, you're a loser. And Ryan was just simply not saying anything because I was present. And when she came into the living room, she was yelling at me. And then she had hit Ryan across the face. And then she did it a few more times. And I told her that if she had kept hitting him, that I was going to call the cops because I did not feel comfortable whatsoever. She looked at me and said, I'll do whatever I want. This is my house. Hit him again, and that's when I had called for the police assistance.
Okay, so you used your cell phone to call the police?
Yes, I did.
Okay, what happened next?
When I was on the phone with the police, she was still yelling at Ryan, and they got it on tape and everything like that. And I had said I need police assistance to this address. And then she had noticed I was on the phone with the cops, and then she had attacked me. And I have pictures here of the bruises from when she grabbed my arm and my wrist.
Is that when your phone was broken?
Yes.
Well, tell me how it got broken, Miss Dickinson.
I was on the phone, and she had grabbed my arm, and then she was fighting with me. I was telling her to let go of me, not to touch me. And then she grabbed the top half of my cell phone and snapped it off, and opened her front door and threw it outside in the snow.
Okay. Now I'll see the police report, please.
Okay. I also have pictures of the bruises. Would you like to see them?
Yes.
And there's also pictures of my cell phone in there.
Is this the only police report that you have?
Yes, there was no police report written. It was just a log entry.
Okay. Step up, please. Your first name is Ryan?
Mm-hmm.
How old are you, Ryan?
18.
You're not living in your mother's home anymore, is that right?
Yes.
Who are you living with now?
I'm staying with friends now.
How long has it been since you haven't been getting along with your mother?
As long as I can remember.
When did you ultimately move out of the house?
She kicked me out a couple weeks ago after she got arrested for domestic assault on me.
Why don't you get along with your mother?
Because she's crazy.
I also have the police log from her arrest, if you'd like to see that.
I would. Are you going to school, Ryan?
No, not right now.
You working?
No, not currently.
How are you supporting yourself?
I really haven't been.
Okay. All right, Miss Irwin. What kind of work do you do?
I'm a store manager.
Were you working on the 21st of February?
I was.
What were your hours of employment?
On that particular day, I worked till about 6 p.m.
Did you go directly from the store home?
I did not.
Where did you go?
I went to a friend's house, and then I came home.
What time did you get home?
Approximately 7 to 7:30 p.m.
And you came home and you found your son and his girlfriend watching television?
They were in my living room. My house was a total disaster. Ryan was not allowed to have any guests at my home without my permission, which he continued to do so, and I was quite angry.
Had you ever met this young lady before?
Once or twice, yes.
Where?
One time at my house, and another time she was leaving my house for a few minutes. That was it.
You never had any problem with her?
No, I didn't.
So what happened when you came home on the 21st?
I'd asked Ryan why he had a guest in my home. We'd had many problems in the past with him having company, and I told him he was not allowed to have anybody in my home without my permission. Ryan got very angry at me and started swearing, cursing, calling me several names. He then spit in my face, literally, and I slapped him across the face once. At that point, Jamie had gotten off my sofa and started calling me names that I will not even repeat, and I asked them to leave my house. They refused.
Shh. Yes?
She did say, threatened she was going to call the police. I, at that time, told her if indeed she called the police, my son probably would have been arrested because he was on probation.
For what?
Numerous things, assault and battery, disturbing the peace. He was on probation for assault and battery on a police officer.
That's serious stuff.
It had
Ryan?
been serious stuff.
That's serious stuff?
Yes.
Okay, so she called the police.
Yeah, I didn't know she was on the phone. I had just got done telling her if indeed she called the police.
There was a lot of screaming going around, so
yes, there was.
Everybody was screaming. I want to know how her phone got broken.
She got on the phone with somebody, I'm not sure who, saying that I was abusing my son, which was not true.
That was with the police.
My son had just spit in my face, and I did slap him across the face after he had called me several vulgar names. One time I did slap him across the face. Yes, I did.
I want to know how her phone got broken.
Well, she was on the phone, and I, at that point, once again told her, if you want to make a phone call, go outside. I need you to get out of my house. And she refused to leave, so I took the phone out of her hand. And as far as I know, it was the top part of her cell phone that did snap off. And at that point, I threw it outside to make them leave my house. I'd asked them several times to leave.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Have you ever been in trouble with the law?
Nope, never.
He has been.
I understand that.
Set your sights a little higher. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I have
Don't
a new
say
boyfriend.
anything, Ryan.
And later today,
Buster's a stubborn dog. There's no doubt about it.
I have a very stubborn dog, but she has been very, very well trained.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jamie Dickinson says her ex-boyfriend's mother owes for breaking her cell phone. Bernice Irwin claims Jamie was trespassing on her property.
Okay. There are a couple of things that I don't quite understand, Miss Irwin, and I think that probably you would have been more prudent if when you came home and found Ryan there watching television with his girlfriend, you waited until she left and then confronted him. As far as I've heard, they weren't doing anything untoward. They were sitting and watching television in your living room. So when you came home and started to go off on him in front of his girlfriend, especially a kid that you had had trouble with and that clearly has a temper, that probably wasn't the most prudent thing to do. And then there was a lot of yelling and screaming. However, Miss Dickinson was an invited guest to your home. She was invited by your son, who lives there, or did then. And whatever argument you were having with your son, and I'm not going to get into slapping him in the face or screaming or yelling or bad names, I'm not getting into that. The only thing that's before me is whether you're responsible to buy her a new cell phone. I believe her when she says that she told you she was going to call the police, and I believe you knew she was calling the police because that's what she said she was going to do. And at that time, if you grabbed her by the arm and grabbed her cell phone and snapped it off and then threw it outside, you're responsible to buy her a new cell phone. It seems to me that there was an altercation in your home and it was getting out of hand. It was a good thing that she was calling the police. So why would you be angry? So, how much was the cell phone?
It is $199.99. I have the paper from the website singular.com.
Okay, can I see it, please? And the cell phone. Who is this person?
Carol, a friend of mine.
Was she there that evening?
She wasn't there that evening.
Okay. This is one of these cute little phones that takes pictures?
No, it doesn't.
Oh, it doesn't take pictures. Okay. That's all you're suing for, the cost of the cell phone. Anything else you want to tell me?
No, that about covers everything.
What do you do for a living, Miss Dickerson?
I babysit, and I used to work at CVS. I had just quit my job, though, because I'm still in high school, and I'm graduating this year, so it was kind of hard doing both.
Have you ever been in trouble with the law?
Nope, never.
He has been.
I understand that.
Lots of times. Set your sights a little higher. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I have a new
Don't say
boyfriend.
anything, Ryan. You got a little ways to go to get your act together, young man. Somebody who's 18 years old, who's not going to school, who's not working, who's not supporting themselves, who's got an arrest history, according to your mother, that's lengthy, is not going down the right path. The yellow brick road is eluding you, Ryan. You're going to have to find it. Otherwise, you're going to be dead by the time you're 30. That would be a shame, right? Be smart. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $199. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm a little confused about the whole thing, actually. I don't really believe that I broke Jamie's cell phone.
I was not brought up that way. I was brought in a very well-nurtured home where no violence is present.
I did ask her to leave my home along with my son.
Mom overreacts a whole lot.
I'm really hoping that we can be friends yet again, mother and daughter. Mother and son, I'm sorry.
Christine Bergdahl says ex-roommate Steven Sanchez owes for 2 months' rent and a security deposit.
Mr. Sanchez, did you have trouble finding the courthouse today, sir?
Not at all. Found it just fine.
Did you get here on time?
Yes, I did.
Did you?
15 till.
Huh?
No.
Well, what happened, Miss Bergdahl? Why couldn't you find the courthouse?
Because I've been under the weather a little bit, and it took me a while to get here today.
Are you sick?
Yes, ma'am.
What's the matter with you?
Well, I've been working for Red Cross in Louisiana, and since I've been back, I've had a cold, and I haven't recovered from it yet, and I haven't had a home to go to. So I've been moving from place to place with my luggage, and it's took a toll on my health.
Can I say something, Your Honor?
Let me go into what the lawsuit is. I'm going to give you plenty of opportunity to speak, Mr. Sanchez. Ms. Bergdahl, this is what your lawsuit is about. You claim that Mr. Sanchez moved into your apartment with you. You lived together as roommates for about 6 months. He was supposed to pay half the rent. He didn't, but that's not what you're suing him for. You're suing him because you moved out in September. You told him to move out in September. He didn't move out in September. Your name is the only one on the lease. He didn't pay September's rent. He was still there in October. He didn't pay October's rent, as a result of which you lost your deposit on the apartment, which you claim is $1,000. You want Mr. Sanchez to pay the $1,000 that you lost in the deposit that the landlord kept, plus the $1,400 for rent for the month of September when you moved out.
Yes.
And now Mr. Sanchez wants to say something. So within the context of this case, sir, what do you want to tell me?
I was just going to say I've been under the weather, too, as you can hear in my voice.
Felt better
Made
in
it
my
on
day,
time,
too,
so
Bird.
that's all
I
I'm
know
gonna
used
say.
to be better 10 years ago. You wake up, you have aches, you have pains, but when you have to get someplace, you get there, and you get there on time.
Correct.
Anything else you want to tell me right now? No, good. All right, Ms. Bergdahl, when did he move into your apartment?
He moved into my apartment at the end of January of 2005.
And how did you know each other?
We had mutual acquaintances before, and we slowly became friends.
And you moved out September what?
September the 9th.
Did you pay September's rent?
Yes, I did.
When did you move out?
Actually,
Is not an answer.
I am still residing there, and I'm in the process of working with the management company right now on that place.
How much rent did you pay in September?
$400.
Is that right? He paid September. He paid half of. He did not pay $400. He paid $362 for half the rent in September.
What was the whole rent? What's the whole rent?
$725, ma'am.
You're still there?
That is correct.
And you're working with the management company to take over her lease?
That is correct.
Then you have to give her $1,000 if she can prove to me that she gave them $1,000. Show it to me.
Of that 1,000, I did participate with 300 of that 1,000.
Steven Sanchez owes everybody money. I'm the last person.
Just a second. Shh. Mr. Sanchez, just show me that you gave her $300.
And that's the problem. My work schedule does not allow me to gather up information, and that's the problem that I have. So
well, you want to know what the problem you have?
It's bad. It's a bad problem. I'm
Glad you said that, sir. What kind of work do you do?
I'm
is not an answer.
I'm a manager at a car dealership, and it requires me to be there from open
You're
to close.
a manager at a car dealership. What kind of car dealership?
Ford's.
Bird comes in with his lovely wife, Felicia, and wants to buy a Ford. And they come to you. You sit down, you work out a contract.
Correct.
And do you sell anybody a car? Do you order a car unless they do all the paperwork and sign all the paperwork? I know I've bought cars. There's usually a ton of paperwork,
Correct.
Right? So you know that when you're buying a car, you have to be prepared to do a lot of paperwork. When you come to court, you don't come with a smile, Mr. Sanchez. You come with evidence, sir. So I don't know what that piece of paper is that you have with you, but if you claim that you gave her $300, then you bring proof of that.
Correct.
All right. So you have to give her $1,000. That's numero uno, despite the fact that she's late, without a legitimate excuse. Now let's deal with the rent. Did you pay October's rent? She wasn't there. You were there. Did you pay October's rent?
The situation with that was when she went to her retreat.
Just a second.
I'm leading up to the situation at hand.
Listen. Life is short. I'm
Correct.
getting older by the minute. I'll let you expand on the answer if I need it. Did you pay October's rent?
No, I did not, because I wasn't allowed to.
Just a second. Did you live there?
Can I say something, please?
Did you live there?
Yes, I did.
Fine. Now, who do you think is responsible for October's rent?
She's on the lease.
Right, and she wasn't living there.
Correct.
You were living there.
Correct.
Just a second. You know, you made me nervous. Something is going in my eye. Bird, look over here. Do you see? Oh, I got it. Thank you very much. Thank you. Does this look all right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're doing good.
Thank you. All right. Listen to me very carefully, sir. The landlord is not related to you in any way. The landlord, I assume, is not related to Miss Bergdahl in any way. Is that right?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So we have to craft this order so that the landlord gets paid their money. What you're going to tell me, Mr. Sanchez, is that you were not permitted to pay the landlord rent because you were not on the lease. Correct. Is that what you were going to tell me? You see what a quick learn I am, Mr. Sanchez? That doesn't mean that nobody expects Miss Bergdahl to pay the rent, do you? She wasn't there. She wasn't there in October. Did you pay November's rent?
No.
This isn't hurricane relief, sir. You're living in a place you're supposed to pay rent. So you make out the check to her and you say, pay the rent. Or you make out the check to the landlord, give it to her. She'll get it to the landlord because she's on the hook for rent. The landlord's not going to let you off the hook. Not going to let her off the hook. Somebody's going to pay October and November's rent.
Okay. I offered to pay time and time again. What the management company said is we need to talk to our lawyers and then we'll get back to you. I went and talked to, I guess her name was Kathy, and she said that you need to vacate the premises. At that time, I was in the middle of a move going to LA to work for another Ford company, and I decided to stay in town because I got another job offer where I reside because it's closer to family. So instead of opening up another lease for a couple of months, I offered to pay 2 months of rent to stay there. What they had told me was, I didn't even know you were there.
So you were a very good tenant. You were very quiet.
I was very quiet.
You have to pay rent. People pay rent, a mortgage, rent, housing allotment. That's what you do. You don't expect her to pay for you, do you?
No, not at all.
Perfect.
I've offered to pay her also, and she denied it.
All right.
Can I say something?
No, do me a favor. I don't listen to tardy people. 700.
He has been asked multiple times by me and the management company to pay something because the person that actually hasn't received any money in 2 months, and he has refused to pay. We've even been over to the house. The landlord even went over to the house requesting money from him, and he didn't hand her anything.
They did not come over to look at the house. They came over to assess the situation of what happened and why she left.
No, why didn't you pay him then?
Shh. I'm getting to that. The whole situation of what happened.
Listen to me. If it was all very nice, you wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't be able to have such a pleasant afternoon.
The living situation was great. Okay, there was no problem. There was just one little issue of a coworker that she lived with that we became.
Listen, I don't care. I have other things to do. I don't care why she left. She left, and if you would have packed your bag and gone at the same time, then she would be stuck with her lease because it's her lease. You chose to live there, sir, for your own convenience. And you're a big boy. How old are you?
Old enough to know.
Is it a secret?
Yes.
It's a secret? How old you are?
33.
If I were 33, I would shout it from the rooftops.
You look 33, by the way.
That's very nice of you.
You're
It's not going to help you one bit. You owe her $1,000 for the security deposit because you're staying in the apartment. You owe the landlord $1,450. 2 checks. One to her, one to the landlord, $1,450. Mill Creek Management, Inc. is who the check gets made payable to. Thank you very much. That's all.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Grimm versus Bynum. Step forward, please.
Student Ingrid Grimm is suing the great-grandmother of her daughter's friend, Amy Bynum, for damage to their pocket bike. Ingrid says Amy's great-granddaughter, 9-year-old Michaela, wrecked it during a birthday party.
Miss Grimm, your daughter was having a birthday party. What birthday was she celebrating?
Actually, it was 2 of my daughters, my 11-year-old and my 13-year-old.
How many children did you have at the party?
There was approximately 20 to 25 children.
And Miss Bynum's granddaughter was one of those children, and you are her guardian, is that right?
Yes.
It is your claim that Miss Bynum's granddaughter rode a pocket bike, and it's a motorized bike, is that right?
Yes, gas.
And she damaged the bike. You want her grandmother to pay for it.
Yes.
Tell me how that happened.
Well, it was understood that the party...
Don't tell me what was understood. Just tell me what happened.
During the course of the party, we had allowed the children to ride. We have approximately 8 different bikes. And they were given certain rules that they had to follow in order to be able to ride the bikes. And Michaela did not follow those rules and therefore damaged the bike.
What rule didn't she follow?
Well, they were only supposed to go a certain distance, still within visual range of our house, which is approximately 8 to 9 houses, which is 1 block's length, turn around and come back. And then she was supposed to take turns.
And who was watching them at that time?
I was outside in the garage, and then my boyfriend, Rodney.
Well, who was watching Michaela? That's Michaela over there?
Yes.
Who was watching Michaela?
Everybody was, because the children...
No, not everybody. Were you watching her?
No, not at the time.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Miss Grimm, I'm going to ask you a couple of more questions.
Okay.
Then I'm going to end this torture.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ingrid Grimm says 9-year-old Michaela Nash wrecked her twin daughter's pocket bike while riding it at their birthday party. Michaela's great-grandmother, Amy Bynum, says Ingrid allowed Michaela to ride the bike without her consent.
Michaela, I want you to stand up next to your grandma, okay? How did you know that Michaela had damaged the bike? Did somebody come and say Michaela fell off the bike?
Yes. It was about 5 children that had come and told us that.
Who did they come and tell?
They told both me and Rodney.
So that what you're telling me, Miss Grimm, is that neither you nor Rodney were watching Michaela. Is that correct?
Yes, we were.
You weren't. Because you just said to me, 5 children came and told me that Michaela had had an accident on the bike. And I said, who did they come and tell? And you said they came and told me and my boyfriend, which suggests to me that neither you nor your boyfriend was supervising the child when she was on the bike. Right?
Okay, you can say that, yes.
You see, you don't have to say anything yet. You're going to tell me what happened to the bike, Michaela, very fast. Tell me what happened to the bike.
I ran into the curb and then the bike and the tire wouldn't move.
Were you driving someplace where you weren't supposed to be driving?
No.
You were driving up the block?
Mm-hmm.
Had other children driven to the same location?
They drove a little farther.
Really? And who was watching you when you were driving?
Rodney.
Rodney. Where was he?
He was at the house.
Was he there when the other children were riding further than you rode?
Yes.
Were you hurt?
No.
Miss Grimm, I'm going to ask you a couple of more questions.
Okay.
Then I'm going to end this torture. Let us say, Michaela, who was driving a motorized bike in the street. The law permits you to do that?
Yes.
How fast do they go?
Anywhere from 15 to 20 miles, I think.
15 to 20 miles an hour?
Yes.
How old are you, Michaela?
9.
Miss Grimm, let us assume that, heaven forbid, Michaela had an accident on this bike and was injured. Do you think you would be liable for her injuries?
Yes.
Why?
Well, because she was at my party that I was supervising.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So why in the world would you think that her grandmother is responsible for the damage to the bike?
Because she did not follow the rules, and she went further than where she was supposed to.
That was your responsibility to make sure that she didn't, not her grandmother's. When you invite children to your home to a birthday party, you become an insurer of their well-being. It is your responsibility to supervise them all the time that they're there. And if you elect to allow them to ride on a vehicle that can go 15 to 20 miles an hour, if there's an accident, you are 100% responsible. Did you tell her grandmother you were going to be allowing her to drive that bike?
All the parents were aware.
Were you made aware of that fact?
No, I was not.
I asked you whether you made Miss Bynum aware that you were going to allow her granddaughter to ride this bike.
All the parents were aware.
No, you can't answer the question, Miss Grimm, by saying to me all the parents were aware. You can't tell me what they were aware of when I ask you a simple question, which is, did you tell Miss Bynum that her granddaughter was going to be using a motorized vehicle?
I told all the parents of
When
the
did
children.
you tell Miss Bynum?
Well, when she dropped the children off.
What did you tell Miss Bynum?
I let them know that.
No. What did you tell Miss Bynum? What did you tell Miss Bynum when she dropped off Michaela?
Well, we introduced ourselves, and I thanked her for allowing her granddaughter to come to the birthday party. I let them know that what was...
Not you let them know. I want you to tell me what you said to Miss Bynum.
I don't recall.
Miss Bynum, is anything said to you about your granddaughter riding a motorized bike?
No. I would not have left her at the party if it was.
But anyway, Miss Grimm, you are an insurer of the minor children left in your care and custody when you invite children to a birthday party. If they damage something in your home, it's your fault. If they hurt themselves when they damage something in your home, it's your fault. So you can't invite more children to a party than you're prepared to supervise properly, and I certainly would exercise better judgment than allowing a 9-year-old child to get on a motorized bike that's capable of going 20 miles an hour. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
When I heard that somebody had fallen, my first instinct, well, are they okay?
I saw her when I went to pick her up.
I didn't know who it was that had fallen.
Her on the bicycle flying in the wind.
My main concern was that her granddaughter was okay first.
She was pretty cautious at first, but as she got more comfortable, I'm guessing she started like going a little faster, acting well like a kid would, I guess.
I was trying to turn in the driveway and the tire hit the curb.
She jeopardized her life.
All parties in the matter of Solara versus Lara. Step forward, please.
27-year-old Angela Solura is suing her ex-boyfriend, 24-year-old Freddie Lara, for a loan to restore his Mustang. Freddie claims Angela paid the bill without consulting him.
Ms. Solara, it is your claim that the defendant, who is an old boyfriend of yours, owes you some money.
Correct.
For a loan that you made to him. The purpose of the loan was to have an old car fixed.
Yes.
This was a specialty car?
It's just, it's going to be a classic soon. It's just a car I always wanted
Me
to fix
too.
up.
What kind of work do you do, Mr. Lara?
I clean windows on high rises.
That's a pretty dangerous job.
Yeah,
How long have you been doing that?
like 7-8 years now.
Make a good living?
Yeah, except when they lay you off.
Well, you don't do it when it's windy or snowing or raining.
Right.
How much do you make a year?
Anywhere from 48 to 68,000 a year.
And how many people do you support?
Just myself.
What kind of car is this that you have?
It's a 1986 Ford Mustang GT.
And your age, sir?
I'm 24 now.
Got a lot of money in the bank?
No, unfortunately.
Do you own a home?
No, I'm working on it. I'm renting an apartment for now.
Well, you make a lot of money. What do you do with all your money?
It's expensive to live in New York.
You don't put any money away?
No, I try. Not really.
You need a good woman, sir, to help you out. You also have a claim for harassment. It is your claim that he's been making harassing phone calls to you, and it's because you believe it's because you confronted his now girlfriend and told her that he was still involved with you.
She did not know about the payments. She never knew. He began dating her a week after we broke up, and she just found out about our involvement beginning of January
How
of
did
this
she
year.
find out?
She found a text message in his phone.
Is that right, sir?
Yes, sir, because she was harassing.
She was harassing for what?
Yeah, she was mad about the breakup, so she
She
couldn't
mad
leave
about
me
the
alone.
breakup, or did she ask you for money?
She was harassing me about everything.
Was money involved?
Yes.
These are not hard questions, sir. Now, Tell me about this loan.
We were dating for about a year, and within that time, he needed some major repair work done on the car. It was worth using for transportation, or rather him. I don't drive. I don't have a license.
So he was driving you around?
Yes. I used to live with him, and where we live, you cannot get around unless you have a car.
How long did you live together?
About 9 months.
Where were you living at the time? In your apartment?
Staying with my mom at the time.
So how were you living together? Where did you live together?
In his bedroom.
In his mother's house?
In his mother's house.
Just a second. In his mother's house. So neither one of you were paying any rent?
I did I tried to give them money as much as I could.
Don't tell me tried. I'm not interested in your trying. So you weren't paying any rent? And you weren't paying any rent?
We were, when we could.
Well, sir, if you make $50,000 a year, it seems to me you could help out with your own rent. What does your mother do for a living?
She's a stay-at-home mom.
Well, how does she support herself?
Her boyfriend.
And she had the two of you living there?
Yes, correct.
Tell me about the loan.
He needed some major repair work done on the car. The car was not running, and he asked if he could use my credit card because I don't have any money except for my credit card, and he told me he would pay me back. So I lent him the credit card, and within that time, he was making payments to me weekly.
To you or to the credit card?
He was giving them to me, and I was paying the credit card because the credit card was in my name.
How much was he giving you?
Anywhere from $100 to $200 a week.
Tell me when you actually put the bill on your credit card. What was the date?
Between June and July, 7 transactions were put on the credit card in the amount of about $5,000.
I'd like to see it.
Sure.
Who had physical possession of the credit card?
I did.
So how would this money be placed on the credit card?
A few times I went with him to use the credit card, and there were a few times where I just gave him the card. And I never used the credit card, Your Honor, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 times. It was all of the car repairs.
Who has the car now?
It's his car. He has it.
When did you break up?
August 26th of 2006.
So shortly after the car was taken
Yes.
care of. Now, Mr. Lara, I read your answer. Your answer says that you had made an arrangement with the place that was fixing your car, that you were going to pay them out.
Yes.
And she took it upon herself to go in with a credit card and pay the bill. But that's not true, because there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different times that the credit card was used. It was more than one time, so you must have known about it.
Yes, I did.
And did you say, don't do it because I'm going to pay them
Absolutely.
out?
I insisted that she didn't do it.
Each time you said, don't do it because I'm going to pay them out.
She said it's something we both need, so...
I believe that. No, I believe that. Listen to me, Mr. Lara. I believe that she said to you, listen, I use the car, because she did use the car. So she said, we're both using the car, so I'm going to pay for it. Instead of paying them, pay me. And she says that you were giving her money, Mr. Lara.
Yeah, I felt bad. I didn't want her to spend so much for
Now,
a gift.
you felt bad when you were living together?
Yes.
Speak up!
Yes.
Scared to death of me or what? Are you always this low energy, sir?
Yes.
It's very hard to get excited with you, Mr. Lara. Mr. Lara, I want you to pay careful attention to all my words, sir. While you were living together, you felt badly about what she spent on the car, on your car, so you were giving her money.
Yes.
After you broke up, you stopped feeling badly, so you stopped giving her money. Is that what you're telling me?
She kept on harassing...
No. Don't tell me her. I don't want to hear harassing. I want to hear, while you were living together and using the car together, listen, I want you to follow the logic of this. You were paying her while you were together and using the car together, right?
Yes.
After you broke up with her and started to see your new girlfriend and she wasn't using the car anymore with you, you didn't feel badly anymore, so you stopped giving her money.
Well, I didn't want it to interfere with my relationship. She kept harassing me because things with her, who she was trying to get with, wasn't going well because of the breakup.
I don't give a rat's behind what you think. I asked you a very simple question, and you understand my question, because I don't think there's total vacancy between your ears, sir. While you were together and both using it, you paid her for laying out the money. When you were no longer together and she wasn't using the car, you stopped paying her. That's what you're telling me. That's objective, not what you thought, what you felt. That's what happened. Doesn't that sound stupid to you?
No, because it was a gift.
Mr. Lara, I know that you have this word gift in your mind, but what you did in paying her belies the fact that it was a gift, sir. You paid her for the credit card. hundreds and hundreds of dollars, according to her, because she's only suing you for what she claims is the balance, which is $3,400. And the total was close to $5,000 to fix the car. So you paid her a lot of money to pay down the credit card. Do you understand, sir?
Yes.
Was he more exciting when you were together?
He had his moments.
Few and far between.
He has a problem with confrontation, Your Honor.
He has a problem with confrontation?
Yes.
Oh, and I love confrontation. That's why we don't get along. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,400. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You may step out.
Changed my number. Somehow she called my mom and got my new number.
He is correct. I was able to get his new phone number.
She kept on calling me and leaving me text messages.
It was to get my money back. That was it.
We split up, and she doesn't find it was a good enough reason for a breakup.
That was in August. I've had time to get over it.
I'm glad it's over.
I'm very happy I can put a closure on this now.
22-year-old emergency medical technician Thomas Youngman is suing his ex-girlfriend, 21-year-old bank teller Jacqueline Caffey, for the balance on a car and bank overdraft fees. Jacqueline claims Thomas paid off the car note without consulting her.
Mr. Youngman, Miss Caffey was your girlfriend for a while, and in 2003, according to your complaint, you were foolish enough to co-sign for a car loan for her.
Yes, ma'am.
And when you co-signed for the loan, it was her car. The car was titled in your name, is that right?
Yes.
And she agreed to make the payments on the car.
Yes, ma'am.
And she did make the payments on the car until when?
Until the car got totaled. There was one last payment to make after the insurance paid it off.
And how much was that one last payment?
$550.
Your complaint is that Ms. Caffrey decided not to make the last payment. You had already broken up at this point. And
Correct.
how long had you been apart?
We've been apart for almost a year and a month.
And you knew nothing about the car because it was her car and she was making the payments.
Correct.
After she totaled the car and stopped making the payments, they came after you because you were the co-signer on the car, and they took the money out of your bank account. How much did they take out?
$550.20-something.
Then can you explain why you're suing her for $2,000?
Because there were some late fees acquired with that, in the negative balance fees.
And how much were the negative balance fees?
$100.
Anything else?
My credit was damaged, so I figured the rest of it could be for that.
Okay. Now, Ms. Caffrey, you say you've paid enough, and he co-signed for the car, and therefore it was his responsibility. I'd like you to explain that to me.
He co-signed for it. I have the proof of it.
There's no question he co-signed for it.
He co-signed for a car loan, and I made every single payment. This was a $13,000 loan, and he paid $500, and late fees, $650. And he drove the car, too, when we were together.
You mean in 2003?
Yes.
So what you're saying is he drove the car in 2003, and therefore it was his responsibility to make the last payment.
I don't owe him anything. He paid.
Would you do me a favor and answer my question?
Yes.
I'll decide whether you owe him something or not. I'm trying to figure out your defense. Tell me what your defense is.
I do not owe him because he...
That's a conclusion. That's a legal conclusion, that you do not owe him. So far, we have the following set of facts stipulated. He agreed to co-sign a loan on your promise that you would make the payments on the car. That fact is buttressed by the fact that you did, in fact, make payments on the car consistently, even after the two of you were no longer together. You made the payments on the car consistently, which supports his statement that you promised to make the payments until you totaled the car. Then you stopped. There was still a payment owing, $550. Now I'd like your defense as to why you do not owe that $550.
I had called the bank over and over and tried to figure out how much I owed, and by the time I figured out how much was owed, because they kept telling me different numbers of how much was owed, and then she said, well, just hold off on the payment and we'll get back to you on it. So when I finally got the letter in the mail that I owed $550, he had already paid it. I didn't ask him to pay it. He had already chosen himself to go ahead and pay it.
They took it out of his bank account.
That's not what... When I asked her and he told me that they froze his account, that never happened.
I want to tell you something. Mr. Youngman?
Yes, ma'am.
You're going to get your money.
Okay.
You are also a very, very fortunate man. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Really lucky. You could have been married to this warped thinking, allowed children to reproduce with this warped thinking. So I want you to consider yourself very lucky. Okay?
Thank you.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $650. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Called the bank, and they said that she had not made the payment, therefore they're freezing my account.
There was never any evidence of his bank account being frozen.
She told me that it was uninsured and that she was at fault.
I just don't even want to deal with it anymore.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter, Davis versus Jimison. Step forward, please.
Call center supervisor Penny Davis is suing the father of her son, car rental manager Jerome Jimison, for a loan to buy a motorcycle. Jerome says Penny was supposed to use her child support money to make payments.
Ms. Davis, the defendant is your former boyfriend and the father of your children. How many children do you have with him?
We only have one.
When was the last time you lived together?
Over 5 years.
When did you make this loan for a motorcycle?
July of 2003.
Why?
Basically, he wanted to purchase a motorcycle, so he came to me and asked me if I would help him obtain a loan to purchase a motorcycle.
Why couldn't he get his own loan?
His credit wasn't good enough for that. So he did all the legwork, and basically I showed up and signed the papers, and he got a check for the purchase of the motorcycle.
Wasn't that a big mistake?
I would have to second-guess myself at this point and say yes, but at that point in time, I thought I was helping someone that I could trust.
So you thought you were helping out a friend, but then he stopped making payments on the loan.
Yes.
When did you stop making payments on the loan, sir?
Actually, my last payment was November of last year.
Why?
When I lost my job, about 3 months after we got the loan, I got another job making considerably less, and child support was not lowered.
So?
Penny and I actually had a conversation then in the summer of last year where she agreed that because I could not get that child support modified and lowered to then match the new calculation on my new salary, that she would then pay that amount.
No, I did not.
Just a second. She would pay what amount?
Any additional amount towards the loan because I could no longer afford it.
Why didn't you sell the motorcycle?
There's no way I would get anything close to what I paid for it.
You have the title to it?
Yeah.
Let me see it.
It'll actually say on it that it is a rebuilt salvage.
So this motorcycle is how old?
1994 with some 95 parts on it, I think.
Now, you don't use this to get back and forth to work, is that right?
No.
It's a hobby.
To some degree.
And how much do you think you could get for it if you went to sell it?
$1,000 to $1,200.
And how much is left on the loan?
$3,744 and
$3,744
and 61 cents. That's
okay,
the payoff amount.
Yes. That's the payoff amount.
Yes. I also asked Mr. Jimison to give me the title.
Yeah, well, he's going to do that today.
Judge Judy, if I can mention one thing. When we entered into this agreement...
Just a second.
Okay.
Before he mentions a thing, Bird, find the right place where he's supposed to sign off on this thing, because he's going to give the title to her so she can sell it.
Can I make a statement short of that?
Not short of it, after you sign it.
Transferor.
Perfect. Now you can give that to her. Now you can go pick it up.
Thank you.
And sell it. Now you wanted to say something to me, Mr. Jimison?
Yeah. We went in it with the understanding that she'd have my back and I'd have hers. I had no problem paying for the loan, assuming that she would do what she could to help me out.
What you wanted her to do, sir, is to lower your child support payments.
Right.
So that you could pay for this hobby craft. That's what you want. Listen to me. Listen to me, sir. Mm-hmm. If you said to me, Judge, I needed a way to get to work. And if I couldn't get to work, I couldn't pay child support. This is my mode of transportation. I'd have a little sympathy for you. That's not what you're saying to me. You're saying to me, this is a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
I have another car that I use for work.
I don't actually own a car.
I don't care how you get to work. I don't care if you get to work by subway or if you get to work by trolley.
Okay.
This is not your mode of transportation to work. So if you lost your job and you had to replace a job with a job where you were making less money, the answer isn't cutting your child support payments, sir. The answer is getting rid of your... I'm speaking. The answer is getting rid of your hobby. You don't say to her, take less money, agree to take less money so that I can make the payments, because that's what you said in your answer. I said to myself, I'm not getting this right.
Well, let me try
He wants to reduce his child support, and she said no. So let me read it here. Let me read it here so I got it. I should have it exactly. She agreed to make the payments out of the child support that I was giving her.
Out of the additional child support.
There's no additional child support, sir. There's no additional child support. You
Can I-
moved for a downward modification because
Yes.
you moved for a downward modification.
Right.
The downward modification was denied.
Correct.
So there's no extra child support. She didn't get extra child support. You didn't like the computation with your new job. And your new job, according to the federal guidelines, probably said there's a low end and a high end. And they said to you, whatever it is, you're going to pay the high end.
Right.
Been there,
Okay.
done that. Now you have a judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,544. Sell the motorcycle. Goodbye and good luck. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It's a shame it had to end this way, and it's unfortunate that now that my child support for my son is going to get lowered.
He's had 3 additional children since I got my child support order, so now he's paying child support on 4 children instead of just ours.
I don't know if she still got the hots for me or what, and she's jealous that now I got a motorcycle or what.
Basically, we'll have an amicable relationship as far as our son is concerned, but as far as any friendship that was there prior to then, that's gone.
Being like this, they're never going to change.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of McLean versus Clark. Step forward, please.
Meat cutter Michael McLean is suing the mother of his son, nurse Lachelle Clark, for the return of child support. Michael says money was taken from his paycheck while their son was living with him.
Mr. McLean, you and the defendant have a son together.
Yes, I do, ma'am.
And it is your claim that your son was living with you for a period of time at his mother's request.
Yes, ma'am.
And during that time, they were taking child support out of your check.
Yes.
And Miss Clark knew that the child was living with you, and she was the only one that could stop this child support
Yes, ma'am.
payment. She did not, and you want her to pay you back the money that you sent, or that
Yes,
was
ma'am.
taken out of your check, for your son while he was living with you.
Yes. I wanted her to stop it immediately.
And Miss Clark says, well, it was only temporary, and she was providing some things for him also.
Yes.
Right? Okay. How old is this child?
He's 11.
And why did he go and live with his father, Miss Clark?
He went to live with his father because at the present time, my landlord went up on my rent $300 because I had lost.
You were having a problem with housing.
Excuse me?
You were having a problem with housing?
Yes.
All right, that's the bottom line.
Michael McLean says the mother of his son, Lachelle Clark, accepted child support payments after their son started living with him.
So when did you call Mr. McLean and ask if he could take your son?
Around the 1st of January when I first started having my housing problem.
And when did he actually go to live with his father?
The 28th of January.
Is he still there?
Yes.
And how much is the child support order, Mr. McLean?
I want to say $272
a month.
What do you do for a living, Mr. McLean?
I'm a meat cutter, meat manager.
How many children do you have?
I got 3.
Do any of them live with you? You have to think
No.
about that? None of them live with you.
No.
Do you pay child support for any other children?
Yes, I do.
And what do you do for a living, Miss Clark?
I'm a nurse.
How many children do you have?
2.
Well, I know one is living with Mr. McLean. Where is the other child?
The other one is with his father also.
How much child support do you pay for your other child?
None.
Why not?
What do you mean? Because me and him have an understanding. This thing right here, I can't have
just listen to me. Listen to me very carefully, Miss Clark.
I do for my other son, as well as I do for Michael while he's staying with his father here.
Well, listen to me. Don't talk to me with attitude. There's only one attitude here, and that's mine.
Oh, well.
Listen to me very carefully, madam. There's only one attitude here. And Officer Byrd will tell you that that attitude is mine. So let me give you a primer course in parenting. When 2 people have a child, it is the responsibility of both parents to support them. So that if while your son is living with his father and you buy him things, clothes,
and anything else he needs.
Just a second. Clothes, doctor's visits, extra school activities, sneakers, right? That's what you're supposed to do.
Okay.
You're also supposed to be responsible for your child's portion of his rent, gas, electric, food, telephone. That's what his father is taking care of. He's not supposed to be sending you money so that you can spend his money on clothes for your child. That's money that you're supposed to be paying out of the money you make from being a nurse. So when your son went to live with his father, the child support should have terminated. The truth of the matter is, while your son is living with his father, you should be paying his father child support. And if you're not paying child support to the father of your other child, when your other child's living there, you're doing the wrong thing too. So let's figure this out. There are 4.3 weeks in a month times 4. Oh, got to turn it on first. 4.3 times 4. No, that's wrong.
Can I have it?
Yeah, you figured
His
it out.
child support was stopped in April.
What?
His support was stopped in April. We went to
So
court
just
about
a
this
second.
matter.
It was stopped in April.
408.
April 8th. So we just need 2 months. So it's 272 times 2. $544.
That's right.
Where do you get $1,136 from?
I must have underestimated the cost of it, but I also wanted to where I had to go file for court.
I'm sure she had to go. I'm sure she had to go.
No, you
don't. Don't speak to each other. You want to speak to each other? You do that outside. Here, you only speak to me. Okay. So let's say you had him for an additional 3 weeks. It's approximately $150. That would be $694 that you paid for support while he was living with you.
Yes.
Is she paying child support now? Did she pay you any child support in April or May?
No, she haven't.
Got away with murder. What you should have done is when you went in to have the child support stopped, you should have sued her for child support. Put your hand down. As long as the child is living with you, you have the right to sue for child support against the non-custodial parent. Tap your fingers. You may not like the message, but don't kill the messenger. That's the law. Just like when your child is living with you, you sue the non-custodial parent. Just because he's a father doesn't mean you get a free ride. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $694. That's all.
Excuse, you may step out.
Pay $272 a month doesn't even put food on my table for 2 weeks. Okay, his son can eat a whole chicken.
Right now, I know she's kind of angry. She gonna probably want him back.
When he gets ready to go back for child support again, he gonna have to pay arrears. So I mean, I ain't worried about it. I ain't gonna worry about it. I ain't gonna sweat it.
I don't know where she come with that. I got 3 boys. I take care of all 3 of them.
I had to pray and beg for him to keep the son in. Okay, and the only reason he did it then was because he didn't want to pay child support.
Justice just paid off this time.
"56-year-old Candace Harris is suing her ex-boyfriend, 32-year-old Frank Boswell, for an unpaid loan and for trading in a Camaro that didn't belong to him. Candace claims Frank is a scammer.
Ms. Harris, you met the defendant online. Is that how you met him?
Correct, Your Honor.
And according to what I read, you began a relationship with him, and at some point, according to you, you let him borrow a car that you had that you weren't using.
Correct.
And he had the car for many months. The relationship soured. You went to get the car and found out that Mr. Boswell had forged your name to the title of the car and either sold or traded it in for something else.
That's correct.
You also claim that you loaned him some money before this in 2005, and I'm telling you right now, Ms. Harris, I'm not entertaining that. Because according to what you said in your complaint, you sent him this money with the understanding that when he got back on his feet, he would pay you back.
Correct.
That's what you said. Mr. Boswell is going to tell me he never got back on his feet. That's not a loan. It has to be objective, not subjective. Mr. Boswell will tell some people he's on his feet and tell other people that he's not on his feet. You have children, sir?
Yes, I do.
How many?
1.
That child live with you?
No.
You pay child support?
Yes.
As much as the mother of that child wants?
No.
Right. Because you're not really on your feet. See what I mean? Things are very predictable in this life. I could have written this script before I even asked him a question. Now, when did you let Mr. Boswell borrow your car?
He came to see me on September 29th in 2005. It was at my house for many months being unused.
So you let Mr. Boswell borrow it. What was the arrangement?
The arrangement was that he would use my car. He was trying to get his career started in music, rap business, and it would be a nice car for him to drive with a little bit more prestige maybe than what the vans he had. And we never discussed when I would get it back. However, in March...
After he got on his feet.
Yes. In March, I discovered there was other women involved in his life besides me who were also helping him out financially till he got on his feet.
I could have also told you that.
Yes, ma'am. And it escalated to the point where more and more women started showing up On June 20th was when he sold the car. I have the documents here that show
Now,
it was...
Mr. Boswell, how much did you sell the car for, sir?
I actually didn't sell the car. I traded the car.
How much did they give you for it?
They just traded me another car straight across.
Really?
Yeah,
But you forged her name to the title.
I did that.
You can't do that, Mr. Boswell.
Why would someone give me a car and give me the title if they loaned it to me?
Who paid for the insurance?
She did.
And whose name was the insurance in?
Isn't it hers?
You got my message? It's her car. If she meant to pass title to you, she would have signed the title over to you, and then you would have insured the car in your name.
Then why,
Now!
Then why did she give me the title in
Are
the first
you
place?
asking me a question, smarty pants?
Yes,
Don't you
I am.
ask me a question, sir. I ask the questions, you give the answers. I want to tell you, you may find a lot of women that find you attractive. I am not one of them.
Oh. I can dig that.
I'm glad you can. What kind of car do you have now?
1990 Lexus LS400.
How many miles did it have on it when you took
276.
it? 276
Yes.
miles? Is that your car?
No,
ma'am.
her car.
My car
her car was a Camaro.
It had 126,000 miles. It was a 95 Camaro.
When I traded it, it had 143,000 miles on it.
What's the blue book value of your car, madam?
It is, Your Honor. It's $4,025.
Is that in good, fair?
That's the medium. It's in the good condition.
Okay. Now, Miss Harris, you seem like an intelligent lady.
I would hope so.
You know the old saying, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck? Did you ever hear that expression?
Yes, ma'am.
If it walks like a deadbeat and looks like a deadbeat, it's a deadbeat. You're supposed to know the difference at your stage in life.
Correct.
Do you understand? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,000. That's all.
All parties in the matter of Torres versus Briley. Step forward.
Music producer Clifton Torres is suing the mother of his children, Brandy Briley, for destroying his music equipment. Brandy claims the equipment was broken prior to the incident in question.
Mr. Torres, you and Miss Briley had a relationship, according to what I read, and I assume that you lived together for a period of time. It is your claim that a year ago she ruined some of your musical equipment. You want her to pay so that you can purchase new equipment.
That's correct.
Ms. Briley said that while the equipment that you are complaining about was in fact tossed over during this altercation, the altercation occurred because you pushed her and the equipment wasn't working so well to begin with. You have children?
Yes, 2.
Are they your children together?
Yes.
How old are they?
2 and 5.
Who do they live with?
They live with me.
And how long have they lived with you? Alone?
Alone?
Without the defendant?
I guess approximately a year, maybe a little less.
Did they live with you, Mr. Torres, pursuant to a court order?
Yes.
Was there a contested custody proceeding?
No.
Ms. Briley agreed for you to care for the children.
Correct.
Now tell me the date of this incident with your music equipment, please.
It was November 21st, and I came home from work. It was 5:30.
What kind of work were you doing?
At the time, I was working at a construction warehouse.
Could you keep your voice up, Mr. Torres?
I was working at a construction warehouse, and I came home at like about 5:30, and we had gotten into an argument.
About what?
Just about living arrangements, personal stuff. We just had a lot of disagreements about things.
Okay.
And the verbal argument turned kind of physical, pushing and shoving and whatnot. And as I left to leave, that's when the equipment was damaged. As I turned, because I was just trying to leave. As I turned to leave, I heard a smash on the floor. I turned around, and my equipment was on the floor, destroyed.
But it did not fall as a result of the altercation.
No, it happened after the altercation.
It happened when
Directly
you were exiting.
after. As I'm trying to leave, that's when it happened.
All right, Miss Briley, tell me about it.
Basically, he came home, we got in a disagreement.
You remember what the disagreement was about?
Our living arrangements and personal problems.
What does that mean?
We were just disagreeing on lots of different things. Like, for the most part, it was our living arrangements. But as he pushes me back because he doesn't want to listen to what I have to say.
Well, he's coming home from work. You're home all day. Is that right?
Yes.
You're home all day with 2 children.
Yes.
2 very small children,
yes.
right? Do you ever have any drug or alcohol problem?
No.
Never?
No.
You hesitated for a moment.
Well, I have drank before, but I've never had a problem with it.
Okay. Go ahead.
Well, he pushes me back. I go to get my balance on the stand where the MPC equipment was, and it goes to slide off. And I did help it go to the ground. Like, I didn't try and catch it or anything, but my main argument is it was already broken before any of that ever happened.
Tell me about it already being broken before.
Well, as you know, I stay at home every day, so I did all the cleaning, and it had been in the box for a period of time. And I know he said he wasn't using it for a while, so I would assume it wasn't working.
Well, you can't make any assumptions, so you don't know that it wasn't working.
From what I understood from him, it wasn't.
Did you ever tell her the equipment wasn't working?
No, I have a picture of the equipment. It actually, it was actually in the box. I have a picture of the box.
Can I see it, please?
It's basically a piece of equipment that's used in the preliminary stages of music production. It basically makes the outlining beat, and from there it goes into a computer.
So what she's telling me, sir, is that she actually did break the equipment, because that's what she said in so many words. She said, well, it started to fall, and I sort of helped it. What kind of work do you do, Miss Briley?
I work with the developmentally disabled at a day treatment program.
How much money do you earn?
Is that relevant?
Yes. Anything I ask is relevant.
How would you like it then? Weekly?
Weekly,
hourly,
bi-weekly,
monthly?
however you're paid.
I make about $2,000 a month after taxes.
How much do you pay in child support?
Currently, I don't pay child support. I assist with getting their needs. Like, I went school shopping for my son. I help buy diapers.
Mr. Torres?
Yes.
You are the full-time custodial parent of these children?
That's correct.
You're supposed to collect child support for them. Do you understand that, sir?
Your Honor, when we made the agreement for custody or whatnot, there was a verbal agreement, basically, that she was going to help out in certain things, and I wasn't supposed to receive child support for 6 months, so...
6 months is now passed, sir.
Right. It was a couple months before we got into court, before we made that agreement, almost 6 months since then, so it hasn't been exactly 6 months.
Well, what I'm telling you, Mr. Torres, is it is not your right to have a support order fixed for your children.
Right.
It is the children's right to have a child support order fixed for them.
Right.
Support order.
I'm in the process. I go back on the 28th. We go back to court, so...
Fine.
I'm in the process of doing that.
Do you have a bill for this equipment, sir?
Yes, I do.
May I see it, please?
I actually have I'll just give this all to you. I have a police report, and I have, I don't have the receipt because it was purchased in about 2001. I do have an ad for the same exact equipment. It's pretty much almost exactly identical.
Let me see it.
You'll be able to see that for yourself. I brought it to get looked at a shop, and they basically rendered it, irreparable because the motherboard, the internal CPU board is cracked due to the fall.
Did you get a protective order, Mr. Torres?
I had one at one time, but it was disengaged.
Was it as a result of this?
No, it was something that happened prior to, before that.
How much did you pay for the equipment, sir?
$2,400.
Well, you can replace it for $1,700, correct?
That's correct. That's not exactly the identical model because
May not be, but it also
model.
5 years ago.
I understand.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,700. That's all. Step out.
What is our excuse? You may step out.
I think she did the best job she could.
I think it was a fair decision.
Well, I think we'll be pretty civil.
I'm going to be able to, purchase my equipment that gets me back on.
Marlene Lacey claims fellow motorist Sarah Rochon rammed her car during an incident of road rage. Sarah claims it was Marlene who ran into her. She is countersuing for the resulting damage.
I have a complaint and I have a counterclaim. Each of you claim road rage by the other. And Ms. Lacey, you claim that the defendant assaulted you.
Yes.
The defendant denies that. So I'm used to, quite frankly, hearing about these road rage incidents with guys behind the wheel of a car. Very rarely do I see mature women who get involved with that kind of stupidity. It's very distressing. When did this happen?
March 12th of '07.
What time of the day?
3:30 p.m.
Where were you coming from or going to?
I was going to a doctor's appointment southbound on Highway 99.
Anybody in the car with you?
No.
And where were you going or coming?
I was picking up my son, going southbound on 99.
Okay, tell me what happened.
I was in the, there's a carpool lane, and then there's 3 regular lanes. Mr. Sean was a carpool because she had her daughter with her, but she was in the regular lane, and traffic was all backed up. So I was trying to get to my doctor's appointment. I rushed around her in the carpool lane and came back over real quick.
So you cut her off?
Well...
Just a second. So you cut her off?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's
okay.
what you did. Just a second. Just a second. That's exactly what you did. You cut her off.
Okay.
Now, because there is no rule that if you have more than one person in the car, you have to drive in a carpool lane. The carpool lane merely allows you to be in that lane if you're more than one person.
Correct.
But there's no requirement that you go in a carpool lane if you're 2 people.
Correct.
I question you about that, Miss Lacey, because you hear that you were annoyed with her because she should have been in the carpool lane and not taking up space in the other 3 lanes where there was traffic. That's what you seem to indicate here.
Correct.
Well, that's ridiculous. I mean, that's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard. There are tens of thousands of cars on the road. You're complaining about this lady because she didn't want to go in a fast lane with her daughter? That's ridiculous. And then you did the wrong thing. You cut her off. Now, I haven't gotten to you yet, but we will. Because I have a feeling that both of you ladies acted very badly that day. So after you cut her off, what happened?
I proceeded down southbound 99. I took the Florin Road exit and headed eastbound. There's 2 lanes on eastbound Florin. I was in the left lane, and I noticed a couple of minutes after I exited Florin Road, I noticed in my rearview mirror Miss Rashawn in the right lane, and she comes up. She's next to my car yelling at me and calling me a few names.
She's yelling at you. What is she calling you? She's calling you bad names?
She's calling me bad names.
And what did you say to her?
I didn't say anything. I was like, you know, I was trying to get to my doctor's appointment. That's all I was trying to do. And she started calling me the B word and yelling at me for cutting her off, et cetera, et cetera. And next thing I knew, her car is over in my lane, hits my car. I'm looking, and in my lane is a tan SUV, and my first thought was, this lady is going to make me hit this SUV in front of me. So I slammed on my brakes. She had so much force on my car that she ended up over in the left lane, and I took a right onto Palmer House, right here. And I came down here. Because I wasn't sure, like I said, she was extremely upset, so I was scared to stop or anything. I got on the phone, was trying to get through to 911. She kept following me, and then I lost her, and I came back, and she was parked. So I was trying to take a picture of her license plate. So when I got through to 911, I would have the license plate number. As I was focusing in on the license plate, I had my windows down. She gets out of her car, comes up to my vehicle, to the passenger side, starts screaming and yelling at me on how I hit her car, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, no, I didn't. Next thing I knew, she reaches in through the passenger side window, grabs my purse out of my car, and I was in shock. I was like, wait a minute, that's stealing, that's my purse. So I get out of my car, I go around the back of my car, and she dumps my purse and throws everything on the ground. And I go to pick it up, and she rushes me, scratches me and everything. She is just going at me. And I was in shock, and I believe, excuse my language, but I think I said, what the F, that's assault? And she goes, no, your boyfriend beats you up. I'm like, oh, is that the way we play the game? And then she continues with these 2 gentlemen came out, pulled her off of me. I asked them if they would stick around and talk to the police. They said no. I went to pick up my belongings off of the ground, and when I went to stand back up, she pushes me. I didn't have a chance to brace myself or anything. I fell back, and my head hit the street, twisted my ankle, bruise on my right arm, everything's on the right side. Again, I get back up and start trying to retrieve my stuff again, and that's when the officer pulled up.
Okay, your version.
That was totally a lie.
Your version.
My version is, we were southbound on 99 on our way to pick up my son. We were in the carpool lane. She's tailgating me. My daughter noticed that.
Don't tell me what anybody else knows.
Okay, she
what
wanted...
happened from your perspective?
Okay, she went around on the shoulder to get around me. I wasn't in the number 2 lane. I was in the number 1 lane. She went around on the shoulder, started driving wildly. She was weaving in and out of traffic, got back in the carpool lane. I exited off the freeway. My daughter noticed when we were over the overpass. She said, the same car is getting off the freeway. Is that hers? I said, I don't know. So we were driving east on Florin, and then all of a sudden, I saw a car driving up fast behind me. So I moved over to the right lane, and lo and behold, bam, she crashes right into me.
Where was the damage to your car?
Got pictures right here.
See it.
And you can
tell.
You
have pictures of the damage to your car?
Yes.
And she hit me. Shh.
Why don't I have any pictures of the front of either of these cars?
Because I didn't hit her. She hit me. She's claiming...
I said, why don't I have any pictures of the front of either of these cars?
Because there was no damage in the front of my car.
But if I had a picture of that, it would have been helpful.
Okay.
Because she sideswiped me. She didn't...
I did not sideswipe you.
No. This car looks to me as if this car, this is where the impact was in the
That's
front.
her tire marks.
That's where she
Her
crashed
tire
into
was-
me.
Well-
And then you can see on my picture where she stayed on my...
The damage to her car is mostly on the side. Right. Damage to your car, mostly over here. Okay, so she hits your car, and?
She tried to veer me to the right into a ditch. Why I had a picture of the ditch there. And then I managed to get ahead of her, so I passed the light, but she went to the right on Palmer House and tried to run from me. So I was like, she's not going to run from me. So I ended up backing up in the street and following her down the street. And she made a U-turn in someone's driveway. I came around behind her. She backed up and just crashed right into the back of my car. You could see the dent by the gas tank there. And then she managed to drive back down the street, went into a church parking lot. She did a donut in there, and I got a picture of the marks on the ground there, if you look at the picture. And she was heading straight for me like she wanted to play chicken. So I was like, this lady has no regard for me and my daughter. And first of all, why would I even hit her with my daughter in the car?
You have a police report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to take a look at the police reports, please.
And I'm a commercial truck driver, so why would I want to ruin my driving record? That's my livelihood. I am a Class A truck driver, so I have no reason to be crashing into anybody.
You told the police that after you took the pocketbook out of her car, which you acknowledged that you did, which was the wrong thing to do, you understand, that she slapped you.
Yes.
Where did she slap you?
Right here on the right side of my cheek.
And that's when you hit her?
Yes.
You have photographs of your injuries?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see them, please. You hurt her pretty badly, madam. You hurt her pretty badly. That's unreasonable.
She hit me.
I'm not sure about that. No, you say she slapped you. I believe that, but you assaulted her.
She hit me first.
No, I don't believe that. Not only don't I believe it, but even if she slapped you in the face after you took her purse, she's allowed to do that.
Well, I didn't steal her purse.
Yes, you did.
I grabbed it, yes.
Yes, you did. You stole her purse. The purpose of your removing it was not to steal its contents, was to make sure that you had identifying information about her because she was leaving. You could have had the same identifying information by just taking down her license plate number. You chose not to do that. You committed a felony. You reached into her car and took her purse. You lost your temper. That's a felony.
Well, anybody would under the circumstances.
No, my dear.
Well, not stealing the purse,
I
but
wouldn't
I
have
was
done
hot.
it. I would have stayed in my car until a police officer came. I would have locked my doors, rolled up my windows,
I called
and said,
911.
You may have called 911, but you stay in your car, especially when you have your daughter with you. You don't know what kind of nut this is. All you did was say to me, this person was driving erratically. That's what you said to me. She cut me off. She rammed my car. And instead of sitting in your car and protecting your daughter, you got out of the car and stole a pocketbook.
Actually, I got out of the car to estimate my damages, and she drove up alongside of me, started yelling at me.
So what? So, further proof.
But I was away from her.
You weren't away from her. You walked up to her car and reached into her bag. You can't do that. You understand that? Yeah, good. I'm glad you understand it. And you should be more responsible if you have your child with you. Now, go ahead.
I also asked her if she was on medication, and she said she was.
It's very possible. And if she told you she was on medication, I mean, I know that you didn't ask it in a calm way, because if somebody rams your car, as she rammed your car, you're not calm. So you probably said, what are you on?
No, I asked her, are you on any medication?
And she said?
Yes, I am.
Was that before or after you assaulted her?
That was before.
You got me? In any event, you have medical bills?
I actually don't have medical bills, except for like my prescriptions to like $60 for prescriptions.
Okay.
I also have a report from, because there's more injuries than the pictures, because because when I fell, my head hit the
I'd
ground.
like to see it.
So there's
I didn't cause her to hit her head. She did
So
that on her own.
medical report.
And my daughter can witness to that.
I'm not going to call your daughter as a witness.
Okay.
I think you put her through quite enough.
Marlene Lacey is accusing fellow motorist Sarah Rochon of ramming her car during an incident of road rage.
What?
It says in the police report that there's no visual marks on her face. She said,
No, I read that there were no visual marks. She was not injured. No, I understand that.
Okay.
I do believe, however, that you damaged her car.
Okay.
I think that she lost it, and I think that you behaved very badly that day, Miss Lacey.
Okay.
Very badly. I think that you were in a rush to get to a doctor's appointment, and you were driving erratically on the road in order to do that. You placed a lot of people's lives in jeopardy, because that's what... You practically acknowledged that in your statement, but she's not allowed to lose her temper and assault you. Now, you were banged up.
Yes.
You were banged up. I'm awarding you $3,500 in fees for your pain and suffering,
Okay.
medical bills, whatever they were.
Okay.
I'm awarding her $3,500 on her counterclaim to fix her car for the damage that you caused.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
That means each of you gets nothing. That's all.
Yes, ma'am.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
With the parents safely out of the way. My parents are dead, and mine could be going the same way. Go back to them, pretend you have got over your Spatagroid, and mommy will be able to feed you up and before you ask us go with the owner Protego. And then all of them the hookups. This is gone, disappeared. And the body and everything. Manage to show that she had delivered her